I made a deal. When I monetize, when I start making some money off the channel, I'll buy YouTube Premium. That's the deal. Okay. Not that I can't afford it now. I don't want to give YouTube money until they're giving me money. Okay. So if we never get there, then we never get there. I'm actually fine with that. I like my job. Anyway, Cooley, I think is his name. We'll see it in a second. Yeah. Yeah.
And good
Cooley.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Raging Tomato. I am Sarah, bringing to you live another Moderator Monday. This evening, I have David Cooley from No Food Gut.
All right. So we have David Cooley. He's interesting fella. Um, I saw he recently debated Oliver, that kid that's been going crazy on debates recently. He did one with Jim Bob. He did one with Andrew Wilson. He got absolutely annihilated, even though I don't really agree with Jim Bob or Andrew Wilson. This kid got categorically cooked. It was a disaster. He recently talked to Cooley, and he's been like he's like a known clip chimp. He's a dishonest, bad faith loser, turbo loser. I Cooley just talked to him. We might get into that some point. Then we have Rattlesnake Jake. He's on the Whatever podcast a lot. He's always hanging out with Andrew Wilson and those guys at the Crucible. Um, Something about him is really off-putting to me. Um, just everything actually. Then we have Soy Pill. Not the greatest debater in the world, but pretty decent and like the least cringy progressive dude on the internet, in my opinion. And then we have Wick TV, a little bit of a liberal, a little bit of a fence sitter sometimes, a little bit of a debate moderator. Um, I don't know. Hopefully he's in debate mode and not moderate mode, because that would be boring if we have two moderators. And then we have Sarah, and she moderates debates. So we know who everybody is here. Right.
Fugazi podcast, Jake from Rattlesnake TV, The Soy Pill, and Wick TV, here to bring us a debate on should traditional roles still have a place in modern society. Open.
My quick answer to that, very quick answer, I'll obviously get into more as we go along, is yes, they do have a role. Is it the same exact role that they've always had forever? No, probably not. But there is some type of gender roles that are beneficial to society. I don't think that they should be strictly enforced by a government or anything like that. But there are certain roles that men and women have in society that we should promote. That's my thoughts on this. And we'll get into the specifics of that as we go through the debate. I'm sure I'll have a lot to say on this. So,
Opening up this evening, David, would you like to give your opening statement?
Sure. So, should traditional roles have a place in modern society? It's crazy that we even have to have this debate about something that's rooted in our biology and our reality. It's only in modernity, with all of these modern conveniences like technology that men created and rights that men grant, where someone can feel so comfortable and privileged to even question something that's common sense. Imagine the olden days if you're with your wife and you play rock, paper, scissors, shoot on who has to go out, walk 50 miles, get some water, and fight the bear. She will be pissed, lose attraction for you, and break up with you immediately. Guess what? Nothing has changed today. Imagine you're at home with your wife and an intruder breaks through the door and you say, "Hey, honey, rock, paper, scissors, who's going to handle the bad guy?" She'll break up with you instantly and cheat on you with your best friend. Men and women have a natural propensity that's rooted in their biology to be attracted and repulsed by things in the opposite sex. Generally, men are attracted to feminine women, that's submissive and nurturing, and women are attracted to masculine men who can protect and provide. This is how society flourished since the beginning of time. In today's time, we see the negative results that uh, we see the negative results what happened in society when you move away from gender roles. Feminism plus media pushing propaganda telling women they don't need a man, they're independent, and to prioritize their career over a family and children, uh, which led to a major birth rate decrease, along with 1 million abortions per year, and women initiating 70 to 80% of the divorces. Men are weak and docile and don't have any emotional control because many of them don't have a masculine father in the household to block out the negative propaganda and instill and guide them in their natural masculine role. So I say this to say that gender roles is part of the human existence. If is there's no getting rid of it, and anyone that thinks and tries that they can get rid of it, they're an idiot. That's my
Fair enough.
All right, so he's got a pretty hard line stance on this. Obviously, not much more strict than the one that I just sort of alluded to. And I understand where these two are coming from. I do. I understand where they're coming from. There was a long time where it was pretty necessary for society to continue, for us to fall into these roles, and we kind of did it naturally. But the fact that we aren't naturally falling into these roles does point to something about our existence that is changing on a fundamental level. Things are changing in the world. He didn't really give a prescription as to how he would want to achieve this. He just kind of gave like a general kind of description of what he thinks is or should be reality. But it all comes back to this birth rate idea. And I just don't think that we have to strictly enforce these old gendered roles to fix the birth rate problem. I don't think we have to. Hopefully they get more into that later, but let's hear probably what Jake has to say next. Usually it's in order, but we'll see.
Thank you, David. Jake, to you.
Yes,
Yep.
good to see you all today. Happy to be here. I also am in a similar boat to Cooley, that when I saw the topic of the debate, I thought to myself, this is just a complete common sense no-brainer. Do we need traditional gender roles in society? Yes, we clearly do, because if women don't have children, and if men don't procure and refine resources, and if men don't build things, then our civilization will likely go extinct. So on that level, on the societal level, it's very obvious. But then you look at that as a microcosm of even relationships. We can get into that obviously during the course of the debate if you want. I think that you'd have to seriously touch some grass if you were to take the opposite approach here and say that there isn't room for traditional gender roles. I can't imagine how deep into a Reddit rabbit hole, or how terminally online you'd have to be to think that that women would be happy to do away with masculine men, because women are clearly repulsed in the most part by very feminine men, and men tend to love and appreciate feminine women. So gender roles are not only necessary for the survival of our civilization, but even on the relationship level, on the micro level, they're completely necessary. And with that, I think I'm very excited to hear what our opponents' arguments are.
Me too. Thanks for saying a whole lot of not much at all, Jake. Just kind of like, I agree with Cooley. All right. Good to see that you did not prepare an opening statement. Fun times.
Thank you. Soy pill to you.
Yeah,
here we go.
I believe that gender roles, insofar as they're defined by what is socially expected of men and women, should be done away with. But that's not to say that women shouldn't give birth or that men shouldn't utilize their natural strength. And to be clear, I don't think that gender roles are...
I generally agree with that statement. Done away with in society as a like a force element, I agree with. Done away with entirely, I don't agree with. I think that we can do a better job of sort of promoting some aspects of these gendered roles without making it feel like we're forcing them on people, which is why there's been such a break from them recently. But overall, a good point.
Are exclusively harmful, and I don't think they should disappear tomorrow. I think there's plenty of positives that come from the expectation that men
Okay, he doesn't think they should disappear tomorrow. That's okay. Cool.
should be hardworking and protective, or that women should care for others and nurture our youth. But what I think is the societal expectations, which we use to encourage good behavior, don't really need to be gendered, and that aspects of gendering them are harmful. For example, toxic masculinity gets a lot of pushback because people think it demonizes all of masculinity, when really it's pointing to the failures of gender roles, telling men that they need to be stoic and strong, but not allowing them to be emotional and deal with stress or
I'm in the camp of that there isn't really like toxic behaviors are not masculine or feminine. They're just toxic behaviors. I don't understand. I don't think it's a useful term. But I mean, he has his definition of that, and it fits what he's saying. I don't agree with using that term. I don't think it's useful. I don't think it's good to use that term. I don't think it's I think it causes more of an issue. I don't like when we use terms that we then have to argue about the term instead of arguing about the issue. Right? So like as soon as you say toxic masculinity, someone wants to argue with you. Well, masculinity is not toxic. And then you're caught in this loop of definitions. It's like what Andrew Wilson or any of those type of guys that follow him, his like orbiters, it's what they do when they're not doing super well in a debate. They'll just catch you in some definitional loops and argue with you about definitions forever. And I just don't think it's useful. It's like we could present this in a way where we're not going to get caught in these definitional loops, and it would just be more useful. So the toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, back and forth, I just don't think it's helpful.
failure in a healthy manner. On the flip side, women might downplay or discourage their own intelligence and ambition to fit into this role of a subservient homemaker. So I think we can learn from the good that gender roles encourage and really apply these as virtuous behaviors to all people, and that any biological dichotomies, which won't go away, don't need to prescribe behaviors. Ultimately, I believe that people should have the freedom to choose outside of some gendered expectation.
Soy pill. Wick, to you.
Okay. I'm less optimistic about this answer, but we'll see. He could surprise me.
So tonight we're going to talk about gender roles, traditional gender roles specifically, and if they have a place in modern society. I think to answer this question, we gotta inquire a little further. What place in modern society?
He's already moderator braining again, like off the bat, off the rip. He started by explaining to us why we're here, which is not his job. Sarah already explained to us why we're here. And he's asking questions in his opening statement already in moderator mode, but maybe he'll snap out of it.
Should gender roles have? Neither me nor Soy Pill here are going to be arguing that we should abolish stay-at-home moms or prevent men from working or anything like that. The core question, I think, to tonight's debate is this: who should be allowed to decide what role a person performs in their life? The government, one's community, one's neighbors, or, as I would argue, should the individual be able to make the choice for themselves on who they want to be and what they want to do? Should society or the government restrict access to a woman who wants to enter the workforce, who wants to start a business or run a company?
No.
Should society or the government restrict access to a man who wants to stay at home to raise his sons and daughters while his wife goes out and earns money for their household? I don't think so. The question is, who gets to decide? The argument of men should fulfill this position in the family or this position in the workforce, while women should fulfill this other role in the family and this other role in the workforce is a very anti-merit based argument. Me, I'm a merit guy. I believe that the best person for the job should do the job.
I concur. I'm a meritocratist also. Thank you, Wick, for starting your actual opening statement. Yeah, best role for the job. At the same time, this is the part they're going to end up arguing over is the birth rate again. And I know they haven't really gotten to it. yet. Cooley and Jake kind of got into it a little bit. Soypill and Wick have not really gotten into it that much, but we have to be able to promote that critical like coexistence of men and women, which is families and procreation and being on the same team, while allowing this freedom of choice that they're talking about. And hopefully they can, they're not going to get through to Jake and Cooley, obviously. They're extremely set in their ways. Everyone here is extremely set in their ways. But hopefully, oh, hey, Wicked. And Godspeed. There you are, both of you. Yeah, don't worry. We're still on opening statements, so it's no big deal. Andrew Wilson, get to decide because my dad died and made him Jeebus. Of course. Of course, Godspeed. My mistake. I will not mess that up again. That's right. But like I was saying, we can promote the good things without forcing all of the old stuff that we don't really need anymore. Like, women don't have to stay at home. That's not necessary. They can have careers and do their thing. But when you don't promote family and all of that along with it, then it leads to the problems that we're seeing in society now. But we don't need to be suffering both of these at the same time. Anyway, I'm going to let Wick finish, and then they'll get into the open part of the debate, and then that's where the fun will begin.
If it happens to be a man, great.
Nice seeing both of you, by the way. Welcome. Looks like we have some other viewers too. Welcome to the show. Not really a show. We're just hanging out. But this should be a good one. This is going to be a good one, I think. All of these people are very well-versed debaters. So,
Happens to be a man. Happens to be a woman, then it is a woman. When we try and shoehorn individuals into these pre-programmed slots, we stymie innovation, creativity, and productivity. Let us cast off these chains of these DEI gender roles that my opponents here want to push and really stick to what matters in the long run, which is merit. And that's my argument today. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
that was clever. DEI gender roles. I mean, it's a bit disconnected, but that was clever. I'm gonna give him that was clever. You know.
Thank you, gentlemen. As a kind reminder to everyone, we will go through the debate, do closing statements, read and respond to your super chats, and then, of course, your most favorite, we will open up for open panel dumpster fire. Gentlemen, the floor is open.
Yes, fellas, good to meet you both today. I'm interested to know about the perspective in regards to how we are meant to procure and refine resources and actually build things if we don't have traditional gender roles. And by traditional gender roles, I mean that men have their masculine duty, which is to build the infrastructure of society. If we don't actually have that, and if that's completely obfuscated, and if men don't fulfill that duty, then how do we actually build things in society, and how do we procure and refine resources?
Yeah, I can address this. So I think the mistake in statement here is that by saying we don't have gender roles, that somehow that means we'll do away with the concept of men being this predominantly military force, or men being predominantly this force of strength in building or doing all these things that women can't embody based on merit, like Wick said, right? Like if there is some
Women.
specific strength role that they can't fill because they're naturally not as strong as a man, somehow that means that it's a gender role for the man to do that. When really all we're saying is, yeah, of course, we need people to build society. We need people to give birth. We need people to defend our country. But these aren't things that should be for all men to do. These are things that some are exclusive to men because of what needs to be done there. But that doesn't mean that we're saying, hey, you're a man, you have to do this. And that's just kind of exemplified by the fact that most men don't do these things. Most men don't have manual labor jobs. Most men don't serve in the military. Like, yeah.
This video's got a ton of ads. That's like the fourth one already. Anyway. Congratulations, Wick, for getting so many ads on your video. That's cool, man. I agree with everything he said. The small portion of men that are required to accomplish these tasks will always want to do that. And in fact, there will always be more men than are capable of doing these things that want to do them. I don't super prescribe to like traditional gender roles, but I do HVAC. I do one of those jobs, you know? Um, because I love it. I love being outside. I got a huge sunburn today. I already showed it off. I won't do it again. Um, huge sunburn today. Got to spend the day hanging out with my boys, building stuff, installing duct work, you know, running line sets. It's a whole thing. It's a lot of fun. If you don't know what to do in life, go to HVAC school. It's 1 year, and within like 4 or 5 years, you'll be making 100K. It's no problem. Super fun. That being said, it doesn't take that many of us. There's plenty of us to do these roles. There's plenty of us in the military. The likelihood of a draft ever happening again is very small. Even in the event of a world war, I watched some videos with some projections on this. If the entire world went to war with the United States, they probably wouldn't get to the actual country. Like they wouldn't even get there would be no land invasion. It would likely not happen. And this is all like accepting nuclear stuff. If nukes get involved, then everything goes haywire. The whole world's gone. But outside of that situation, it's like a wash. So it's just like there aren't that many men needed for these hyper masculine traditional roles. And the ones of us that do it, we got it covered. We got it covered. But always welcoming more, you know, if you're just lost, sitting in your mom's basement doing, you know, the stereotypical, I don't know what to do with my life, man stuff, go to HVAC school. It's a lot of fun. You'll get in shape like pretty quickly. Like it's a great deal.
Yeah, I get that, but in like if you look at it in this societal context, if men were to stop doing that tomorrow, if men were to stop performing that role, because it is a role, and we do have guys who get up and work with electrical lines every day, and guys who do roof tiling, and guys who do concreting and ice road trucking, that is a masculine role because women aren't actually physically capable of doing those jobs for the most part. There might be some Game of Thrones ladies out there that can do the job, but for the
It's depending on the specific job. It's like the most is like 10% is women. The least is like 1%. So it's about 5% women that do the physical part of these physical labor jobs. Which is fine. And a bunch of them work in like the offices, they do the sales, they do all the other aspects that are required for these jobs also. I just met a woman at the supply house today. It's not a huge deal. It's not that deep.
for the most part, they can't do that job. And what we see in society is that those duties do get fulfilled, and it's because it is a masculine imperative. And when I look at those duties being fulfilled,
Godspeed. Seriously though, I do think that it should be a choice and that works case by case basis. I agree with Andrew and others that people naturally gravitate toward traditional gender roles. So yeah, most people do tend to naturally gravitate towards those roles. And when we take societies, specifically like the Scandinavian ones, they're always brought up as an example of like this leftist utopia. They're not really leftist utopias. They're like traditional classical liberal utopias, actually. And when you take away all the stress and pressure of society to push people away from their gendered roles, they kind of fall into them just naturally. And society kind of putters along and works. We have this problem in the United States where the relationship between men and women is fractured horribly. But it's not because some of us aren't doing our gendered roles. You know, it's something else. It's deeper than that. It's a separate issue. And it's something that we can address. We can without forcing people into these roles, because being the CEO of a like company that makes like random crap is not a traditional masculine role. Like that is not a coal mine. You're not a roofer. Like you sit in an air conditioned office and bark orders all day. That's not like sitting in an air conditioned office in a suit is not a traditional masculine role. Like that was not a thing. But those people do those things, and we consider those part of the traditional masculine roles, or at least I think Cooley and Jake do. So
fulfilled. I think that men have to have an incentive to actually fulfill those duties. And the incentive, generally speaking, is that they can have a wife and they can have a family and they can provide for their family and they can live a life that's not lonely and that's healthy and that has relationships and kids and all these sorts of things. And if you actually deprive them of that opportunity, and if they can't have a wife, and if women aren't fulfilling their feminine roles, which is to have children and be wives and mothers, etc., then there is no incentive for men to keep on doing that. So
All right. So I feel like Jake must not have ever done any of this trade work that he talks about, this infrastructure building work, because all the trades guys, every one of them that I know, either, first of all, we all make enough money to survive, that's no problem. A lot of us make enough to support a family even. Number two, I don't know if it's most, but it's more than half are either they're young and they have girlfriends for sure, like long-term girlfriends, and or wives. Like most of the people I work with have girlfriends or wives. Like I'm seeing someone, and I have no shortage of. I've never had any shortage of that in my life. Yeah, it's just like the men who do these jobs, they generally do get the reward. Like that's just how it is. Like, yeah, people will be like, "Oh, these guys, they're out on the oil rig and they get nothing for it." First of all, guys who work out on oil rigs make more than me, and I make plenty. They make way more than me, and they're ripped out of their minds, like more than me. And I'm sure they get plenty of girls. It's not an issue for those people.
we're at a stage now in society where we have a much lower birth rate, where people aren't pair bonding as much when they're younger. And then men, I think, have less and less incentive to actually fulfill those masculine roles. And they're wanting to become TikTokers and YouTubers now instead of becoming plumbers and carpenters, etc. So
You could do both. Hey, buddy, watch it. You can do both. Okay? We're going to do both.
there is a bit of an issue actually playing
Not TikTok, though. Fuck that shit.
out before our eyes with this.
Yeah, go ahead. Wick.
Sure. Well, when you say incentive to perform these roles, I mean, they do get paid a salary. The money is exchanged. They're offered a contract. Say, hey, if you do this job, we will give you X, Y, and Z. Here's the money you'll get per year. Here's the benefits you'll get per year. So when you
It's a good amount of money. If you work in the trade, it's a good amount of money. Like it's a good amount of money.
say incentives, I think you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you seem to be implying that there's a lack of incentive for men to fulfill
Well, do you
these
think that
roles these
incentive is
days.
purely
If I may
materialistic?
finish my question, right? There's a
I
lack
think
of
you're
incentive.
rambling.
If
I
I can
understand
finish
what
my
you're- I
Hold
understand
on,
question.
what the
let him
question
let
is.
him finish the thought, please, and
Sure.
then you can respond, Jake.
It's a simple question. I get it. Yeah.
I mean, you don't even know my question. You haven't even heard me answer
He hasn't asked the question yet.
question you
You're
yet.
saying that is the incentive purely materialistic? You're saying that they have a
That's
materialistic
not what I'm
incentive.
asking you. And if you listen,
Go
maybe
ahead and
you'll
finish
learn,
the
right?
question, Wick.
My question is, my statement here is that you seem to be implying that this materialistic incentive is not enough. So I'm going to ask you directly, what incentives do you think that are lacking for men today that you think men should have access to? Should a company
Jake is going to answer that it's like the wife and the kids and the picket fence and all that. But guys in the trades, we have no problem getting girls. It's not a problem.
provide them a wife or something? Is that what you're trying to imply?
Should a company
Yes.
provide them a wife?
If
No,
not
that's what I'm
material,
saying.
if the material incentives that they are offered are not enough,
company.
which you seem to be implying, is that not correct?
Yes.
So, if that's the case, what extra incentives that they do not yet get are you wanting the company to offer or the society to offer?
Hey, Cavos, welcome to chat. Not gonna lie, Sarah has a lot of good debates. Yeah, I do like this sort of. I feel like some of the panel debates get a little big. I like the 4-person 2v2 debate structure. I do like this. And yeah, she does have a lot of good debates. Oil rig paychecks start out at 60K a year. Yeah, so do the HVAC ones. But after 4 or 5 years, you're making bread, dude. Especially if you work hard and move up. Like, I worked hard and moved up, and I was breaking 100K in 3.5 years doing HVAC. Yeah, day one, you start at a entry level pay, but it's really easy to move up in these fields, like real quickly.
I
Offer
never
or a
said that
community to offer.
it was incumbent upon the company to offer that. I said that men are incentivized by the idea that they can have a wife and that they can actually pair bond and they can mate with the opposite sex. This is what incentivizes men to build things. This is what incentivizes men to go out and create things. And also, men are very incentivized by the idea of legacy. Men want to pass on their genetics and they want to have a legacy over multiple generations. And if you don't think that men are incentivized by legacy and by the opposite sex, then that is just a completely delusional take. It's not incumbent upon the company to provide them with a wife, but societally, we should be in a stable society. A man can go out and work hard and make something of himself, and then he can have access to a wife and have access to being able to carry on his lineage, because that
What does that mean to you, Jake, though? I'm curious. What do you mean have access to? Because men who work hard and work a trade and do these jobs that you're talking about and make some money and like, first of all, we're all in pretty good shape. Yeah, there's some like tropes about plumbers, but all the plumbers I know are in great shape. They're young guys like me. They're in great shape. There's like the fat plumber's crack kind of trope. That's not a plumber. That's like the drain cleaner guy. Okay. Actual plumbers, actual HVAC guys, electricians, oil rig workers, roofers, they're all in great shape. They all have access to women. Like women like us. It's I don't know why he thinks that like it's not this group of men that's struggling. It's a different group of men. And there are men that are struggling. I do understand that. I'm not discounting that. Okay. There are men that are struggling. It's not the men that they're talking about right now. And I know that because that's who I'm around every day. That's who, like, it's not just the HVAC guys that I'm around. I'm around electricians all the time, contractors, carpenters. Wicked. Is promotion of egalitarianism now dissimilar to the border issue? It's fine to set a good standard today, but were too many DEI jobs already granted? I don't think there's this. I don't think so. We're already kind of seeing a pushback on that. And I like what Wick was saying earlier, that meritocracy is key. Who like, and this is what a lot of conservatives say, is that we should be basing it on merit. And I tend to generally agree with that statement. And there's been a lot of pushback. I saw I didn't watch the video, but I saw a video today. It might have been a clickbait title, but I guess like a lot of the DEI people are getting like the DEI, not the people that were hired because of DEI, the like, what's the word? The DEI, oh God, somebody help me out. I'm having a brain fart. It's that sunburn burned a few of my brain cells away today. Consultation people, like the people that teach companies how to do DEI. A lot of them have been being let go. You see this a huge amount in the video game industry right now. Like if you're not qualified and it was DEI, like those AAA studios, they're panicking right now. They're panicking because the DEI stuff isn't working out for them. It's the merit-based hiring, no matter what the gender, race, whatever. That's what works out for them. And they're seeing that with like the Oblivion game, the AA studios that are just hiring people based on merit and pushing out great games. And we're going to see it in other industries too. So I don't think it's too late. I don't think it's too far. I think the minor, imbalance created by that will auto correct itself as time goes on.
that incentivizes men to go out and build things.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with any of your descriptions of that some people are absolutely incentivized this way. I'm curious what you're prescriptively suggesting, because I mean, if you look at any of the countries that are fighting, and this is happening all over the world, by the way, this kind of lack of replacement birth rate, whether it be in a more progressive place where you would say, oh, this is because of a lack of gender roles, or because it's in Hungary or Georgia where they're doing incredibly like pro-natalist policies that just aren't working. I'm curious as to why you would think that somehow returning to these gender roles would necessarily be the solution.
Consultants. Thank you. Godspeed. Jesus, my freaking brain. Yes, Disney. Actually, I think Disney was the topic of the video that I saw scroll through my feed today. But like Disney apparently fired a few hundred people recently. Not that that's a big number for Disney, like you're mentioning. They have tons of employees, tons of money, but it's all like little imbalances that aren't really horridly affecting like the entire world of business. It's like specific businesses are going to suffer little consequences if they're hiring people only because of DEI. But as they switch to more merit, then yeah, if it's the right 100, yeah. Well, it was a few hundred, I think, actually, like a few hundreds. But I'll have to watch the video. I haven't watched it yet. I just saw it in my feed. I can't speak too much on it. But we'll see.
To what you deem as the collapse of society, especially when someone like South Korea is facing like the worst of this replacement rate, and they are one of the most traditionally conservative places in the world. It doesn't seem like it's a proper solution. And we can address, I guess, all the arguments about whether or not this has anything to do with whether or not we should prescribe these pro-family values in everyone, regardless of their gender. I don't think this is exclusive to men or women, and I don't think you can point to a country that is embodying this and somehow doing it because of the gender roles is succeeding.
I completely agree with what Soy Pill just said here. The birth rate issue and the gendered roles in society issue, I know it's like it really seems like they're the same issue. They're not the same issue. It's a completely different problem. I think it's a combination of like we went a little far with the sexual revolution. The way we're raising kids and teenagers to behave and engage with society, huge problems there. The way we're educating, huge problems there. I don't think it has to do with the gendered roles that we take up. I think it's a lot of other little issues that are all compounding, and we're really not doing anything to promote a better engagement with society on that level. And that's the real problem. I hope he has some kind of prescriptors for this, because I'd really be interested in hearing them.
So you said you can't point to a country that's succeeding in what, sorry?
You can't point to a country that's succeeding because of like they're strictly adhering to like all men need to do this, all women need to do this, and therefore now we have prosperous high birth rates and our economy is flourishing.
Yeah,
I just don't see that happening.
We can point to a country, Israel. You look at Israel and they've got a birth rate above 3, and one of the reasons why is because they have an Orthodox Jewish community that
Israel's birth rate is high because they made IVF free for everyone in Israel, which is costing the country a ton of money. But Israel's pretty well off, so they have enough money. Yes, I really want to hear some prescriptors for the birth rate issue. That's not just it's not because of gender roles. Like I just said that. That's what they're saying. I want to hear some prescriptors, because I have some prescriptors. We'll get into them. I kind of alluded to some of them, but I want to hear them say it, because until I start engaging in these debates, no one else is saying this right now. And so I really want, I don't know if Wick will have any. I think Soy Pill has some. I really hope he says what they are, though. Yeah, cheeky.
that has a massive birth rate. They have a big IVF program, which is a bit, that's a different conversation. But
that's not a different conversation. That is why. That's why the birth rate's so high there. Jesus, Jake, come on.
They've also got the sort of family structures where the grandparents will come in and look after the children, etc. And they also have a lot of shame around having children outside of wedlock. So there's a lower rate of single motherhood, etc. But also they've got another thing, which is nationalism. They've got a lot of countries around them that want to take them out. So obviously they need to reproduce. And one of the Palestinian leaders, Yasser Arafat, is on record saying that his greatest weapon is the woman's womb. So that's how the Arabic countries around them think, that they want to outbreed them and, eventually whatever. So
Sure. So
Israel is
that,
a really good
can I ask a
example of
question
that.
though? Because that is a good example. I'm happy you brought that up because that wouldn't be one that I would think of. But then I guess that would kind of contradict the whole idea of gender roles when I think of the fact that we put I'm paid by them, by the way. They put women and men into the IDF to serve in the military, and like it seems like they're, if anything, kind of moving away from traditionally masculine, traditionally feminine things. Now, if you want to argue,
Yeah.
we need to encourage some degree of like birth pronatalism to make a country survive, especially when it gets this dire. I wouldn't even argue with that necessarily. I just don't think that's the same thing as what society expects from people and saying that you need to do this or you're not a real woman, and you need to do this and you're not a
yeah.
real man, which is kind of
I've
the
got
crux of the discussion.
a few points to touch here. So first of all, in terms of the Israelis
Sorry, I got to back that up. I want to make sure I heard them both correctly.
reproduce, and one of the Palestinian leaders, Yasser Arafat, is on record saying that his greatest weapon is the woman's womb. So that's how the Arabic countries around them think, that they want to outbreed them and, eventually whatever. So
Sure. So
Israel is a really good
can I ask a
example of
question
that.
though? Because that is a good example. I'm happy you brought that up because that wouldn't be one that I would think of. But then I guess that would kind of contradict the whole idea of gender roles when I think of the fact that we put I'm paid by them, by the way. They put women and men into the IDF to serve in the military.
Sorry about that, guys. Thank you. I was shaking up my drink. Who is they though? So he's talking about Israel right now. He wasn't saying they in like the broad sense of like, oh man, they're putting us down, man. He was talking about he was referring to Israel specifically. I agree with you, Godspeed. It is a part of it is the culture of narcissistic, mindless self-indulgence. And the court system. However, the family court system, and I just recently looked into this because I was curious, has been getting better and has been treating men a little. Am I still muted? Oh, okay. Yeah, the delay is interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah. So like I was saying, the family court system it got really bad for a while, and it's been getting better. It's been getting more like the absolute biased instant favoring of women has sort of started to transition to like a more equal and fair doling out of the law, so for example, it used to be that like women just got custody all the time. That's changing a lot, and when men do file for custody, they're extremely likely to end up getting custody now, which is good. So that has been changing, but we do still, the culture of narcissistic, mindless self-indulgence, I do agree with. That's a big problem.
And like it seems like they're, if anything, kind of moving away from traditionally masculine, traditionally feminine things. Now, if you want to argue, we need to encourage some degree of like birth pronatalism to make a country survive, especially when it gets this dire. I wouldn't even argue with that necessarily. I just don't think that's the same thing as what society expects from people and saying that you need to do this or you're not a real woman, and you need to do this and you're not a real man, which is kind of the crux of the discussion.
A few points to touch.
Okay, so I agree with you. But how do we fix the problem? I want to hear you make a prescription for fixing that issue?
Yeah. So first of all, in terms of the Israelis and their the IDF, the women are all in support roles. The women are not out there on the front lines. If you look at the death toll of the IDF men to women, it's substantially more men. The women aren't going and fighting. The women are making TikToks, and they're probably making the sandwiches for the guys and stuff. They're maybe standing at the traffic stops and pretending to do something. It's a little bit for show, but it is a part of this sort of nationalistic push that they have, where they're like, everybody has the duty to serve the country, etc. You also brought up Japan and South Korea. These are really good examples. Now, what this actually does play slightly into the favor of what you guys are saying, in the fact that there are other explanations for collapsing birth rates. One of them is urbanization. One of them is as a country becomes more wealthy and people live in smaller places and the population grows and people get more urbanized, they want to have less kids because, you know, it becomes less affordable. But also, these countries are atheist countries. They're not religious countries. They have some sort of cultural traditions, etc. But I think that the birth rate problem is a deeply religious problem. And it's a similar problem that we're having in the West at the moment, that as we go away from religion and as we go away from God, people have much less incentive to actually procreate.
Well,
What they
why would you say then it's happening in Georgia, which is like a kind of Orthodox country, or why would it be happening in these like sub-Saharan communities, which have religious ties, and people like to fearmonger about how they're going to birth all these crazy migrants with these high rates, and yet they are also seeing the same decline. I think if you look into this at all, you'll see that there's actually no consensus as to why the birth rates are falling in all of these countries with completely different environments. It seems to be, I mean, I think there's a quote from someone that said, hey, if you could solve and show why this is happening, you'd win a Nobel Prize, because it's kind of baffling people as to why it's literally happening across the board, across all of these countries. Like,
it,
how can that all be from religious or lack of religion?
and if I may,
It's all different problems, but it's all the same problem in the Western society. And it's this big group of little, maybe AI is already influencing the populations across the world. Maybe that's possible. We think they're real children, but they're actually just AI children. So the birth rate's even lower than we think it is. That might be it. Yeah, it's like, I can't speak to non-Western societies because I'm not super well versed in them. But in what we consider traditionally Western societies, the problem is not that people aren't going into their gender roles. I don't even think it's religion. It is true that the religious do have more children. That's a fact. Conservatives have more children than liberals. And I think that is a reflection of, like Godspeed was saying, it's this attitude of self-indulgence. It's this infinite sexual liberation, which I'm okay with a little bit of sexual liberation, but you got to calm down and stop gooning and cooming and whatever the words the kids use these days. And a few other problems, but I don't want to give them, I don't want to, you know, play my hand. Yeah, propaganda glorifies traditional family. I don't want to play my hand. I want to hear Soy Pill and Wick say the prescription to fix this problem, because they're doing a good job of like putting walls up in front of Jake's arguments, but they're not making a strong like counter. This is why. Like, I know like they're doing a good job of, these aren't the reasons the birth rate's going down. And I agree with most of what they're saying, but they need to put a strong face of, this is why, and this is how we fix it. I want to hear that from them before I go off on a thing. Hey, Wi-Fi, welcome to chat. All agree some kind of gender role should be applied. So what they're debating is to what degree. Yeah, kind of. So they're kind of debating like if they should be like societally enforced or not. And they're also kind of debating like which ones should be. Yeah, birth control and condoms pushed us into this crazy world that we didn't have to go into just because of birth control and condoms. Like, but hey, we finally got freed from the ties of sexual oppression or whatever, and we got a little wild with it for about a century, and we gotta chill out, we gotta calm down, okay? And hey, it was me too. I did it. Okay, I did it. I'm sorry. Sorry, I engaged. All right, I did. I'm trying to chill out though. I've been good lately. Yeah.
Hey,
Well, here
if I may piggyback off
thing
that
is,
just real quick.
go ahead,
just real
Wick. Yeah,
quick,
you can
right? This
piggyback
idea
off
that
of
the
Nice.
women who serve in the IDF are just kind of standing around pretending to do things is just not borne out by the facts. A lot of them do serve in security roles and other types of places. While yes, they're not all on the front lines fighting, I think logistics serves a valuable and logistics wins wars, frankly. And those are the people who are putting their lives on.
Speaking of winning wars, probably not winning, but that drone thing Ukraine just pulled, I'm sure you all saw it. That was crazy. Sneaking them in on Russian trucks and just turning them on, hitting 41 of their like most important military vehicles. That was a good one. That was like Israel with the pagers. That was like 4D chess. That was pretty cool. All wicked. If we have a little time at the end of the debate, maybe we'll get into it. I do have work in the morning, so it depends on how long this is a long debate, so but if not, just Ukraine, drones, Russia, it'll all pop up immediately. Crazy thing they pulled off. Crazy. Whatever side you're on, it was crazy. It was cool.
On the line. And I just think that like to point out Israel as a place that has moved away from gender that has moved away from gender roles in a large society, and using that to kind of promote your point that we need to stick with gender roles just doesn't connect. There's
The
no
Orthodox
I've
Jews
heard
have a
that
birth rate
Ethan
of like
Klein's
8.
wife is a terrorist, and I don't think
I-
that could happen if she just was making sandwiches, but I'm not sure.
I wanted to give Cooley the opportunity.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that because Sarah was talking over him a little bit. Cooley has not spoken since his opening statement, by the way. It's been mostly Jake and Soypill. So it's a good thing Sarah caught that. I just want to hear what Soypill said, though, because they were talking over him.
And using that to kind of promote your point that we need to stick with gender roles just doesn't connect. There's
The
no
Orthodox
I've
Jews
heard
have a
that
birth rate
Ethan
of like
Klein's
8.
wife is a terrorist, and I don't think
I-
that could happen if she just was making sandwiches, but I'm not sure.
I wanted to give Cooley the
just
opportunity to jump back
I
in.
was just saying some little quippy thing about Ethan Klein.
Yeah, no, I see where you guys are going with this. So the big thing, it's influence. Influence is the big thing. Like Jake is saying, he's saying like, religious is an influence, and then traditions is an influence as well. So question to you, Soy. You said that in your opening, you said that you believe that people should have freedom to choose. So
Yes.
let me just ask you a question. My question is, should people, should we promote and push gender roles to like move society that way? Should we influence people to adhere to gender roles, or should we not?
Right. So I think what's kind of been happening up until now, and we've kind of deviated this in the recent years, is that we have been pushing gender roles. We say, hey, men, you go work, provide for your family, you'll be happy. Hey, woman, stay at home, like make the home, raise the children, you'll be happy. And as we've kind of moved away from this, you see that like the stickiness of kind of pushing these roles is, I think, causing more harm than good in certain places. I don't think these are completely useless, by the way. Like, I agree, we should be promoting men to be hard workers. I just don't think we shouldn't be promoting women to also be hard workers. I think any of the good things you can take from these roles could be applied across the board. And unfortunately, what's happened now is because we've told men for so long, hey, if you're a hardworking go-getter guy and you go get a job, that's all you need to do. What that has done is created this kind of male loneliness epidemic where they realize, hey, I've done everything the gender role told me to do. I'm stoic, I'm progressive, I'm strong, I'm going out and I'm working, and it's just not enough anymore. And it's because we've limited what a man should be to this very narrow pigeonholed sort of definition. And I think that it is just more harmful to society than just saying, hey, like everyone needs to go out and do all of these virtuous things that we've been promoting with gender roles, just not exclusively to gender.
Yeah, got you. So you really haven't answered my question. So remember, in your opening, you said that people should have the freedom to choose, freedom of choice,
Yes.
right? So my question to you is, if people have the freedom of choice, right?
Mhm.
Choice, what should we influence them? Like if you influence
Yeah, so
someone, they
I
still
know it's
real
vague
quick,
when
let
I
me just
say
finish it up.
virtuous.
Wait, let me
Oh,
finish it
okay,
up.
Let him
okay.
finish it, and then we
If you
can respond.
influence someone, they still have the ability to adhere to whatever you're influencing them on, or to neglect it. It's still choice. So my question is, should we influence society about feminism? Be an independent woman. I don't need a man. Or should we influence people to say, hey, you know what? These gender roles, these traditional roles, these are things that's good, even though they can still choose something else. We do see today with the influence of feminism, it actually led people to make a choice to not prioritize family and children and stuff like that. So my question to you again, should we influence people to adhere to gender roles? Yes or no?
Right. So sorry if this is vague. I promise I did answer your question, but I'll try to elaborate a different way. So when I say,
just
hey, we should
yes or
promote
no.
virtuous, well, okay, no is my answer, and I'll explain why.
Okay,
So I
got you.
do
So
think
you
we
want
should be
boys
promoting
to be
virtuous.
So Cooley is making a reasonable point that, and I think I just saw Wicked. Yes. Oh, hey, Drew and Mike. How you doing, man? Pushing anti-gender roles is damaging. You can become a CEO for 3 years before you decide you want to raise a family and homeschool. Now, while the way that we are doing the anti-gender role thing, and when I say we, I don't actually mean we. The way that the far, far left and extreme progressives have been pushing this is damaging. I agree with that. And I think Soy Pill and Wick would also agree with me on that. You can become a CEO and have a family. Those aren't mutually exclusive. The problem is that we're kind of influencing people to be in one lane or the other. And to be a good holistic person, you have to be in both lanes. And well, you don't have to be, but for most people, it's totally reasonable to be in both lanes. There are ways to push this. I want to hear Soy explain them before I do, because I just want to see if they get it, if they're able to counter this properly. But the way that we are teaching kids and teenagers and young adults to engage with society is in this dichotomous view of like, you have to be either over here or you're over here. You don't have time for both. It's just one or the other. And I just don't think that that's true. I don't think that it needs to be like that. Yeah, but see, here's the thing. You don't have to quit your job for 12 years anymore. Like you don't have to do that. I want to let them say it first before I do. I want to see if they can first, but if not, I'll get into it.
girls.
Hold on,
girls
Cooley.
to
Let
the
him
boys,
let
right?
him
Yeah,
elaborate,
that's not what I
please.
said. So I think we should be promoting good behaviors that make society better. I think that gender roles as those behaviors are limited in the fact that if we tell everyone, hey, men can only do this and women can only do that, and if you're out of this spectrum of what I've defined a man and a woman should be, you're doing something wrong. I think that limits more than it helps at this point. And I think that all of the good things that do come from that, we can do agendered. That's what I'm saying. So no, I don't think gender roles should be promoted, because I think the good behaviors are independent of those and can be influenced independent of those.
Can I ask you a question, Cooley, if I may?
Sure, I was gonna reply back to Al.
Go
Just
reply.
go ahead.
I can
Wick.
wait
No,
till you
Wick,
reply. It's fine.
Wick, no, Wick. You're fine.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Well, as I said, you can
Got
go to
him.
Soy. Go ahead.
No, I'm messing. Really, Wick? You can go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure.
That was very
Fair
cucked
enough.
of you.
I try to be kind, and thank you for allowing me to go.
Yeah.
If a man wants to stay at home and raise his children, which is not a traditional role that a man has, and his wife wants to go out and work and earn a living, etc., do you think that society should look down on that man for doing that?
Do I think society should look down on that man
that
for
society, his community, his
I'll give you-
neighbors, etc., should disincentivize that man from doing that. Should look down
I'll
on
give you
him,
two answers.
etc.
Two
Go ahead.
answers. One, generally speaking, his wife will look down on him. So that will be the first thing. The wife will look down on him, even though the woman was influenced to prioritize a career. Like you said, hey, yeah, I want to go out there and get my bag. And he's in the home taking care of the kids. There's a very high probability. Women have a natural propensity to be repulsed by a man that's not operating in masculinity. You get what I'm saying? So
I don't
in
actually,
some
but go ahead.
situations, well, that's fine. And
There are some statistics that back what Cooley is saying. I don't think it necessarily has to be that way, but the problem is we're teaching people two things. We're teaching them anti-traditional gender roles and traditional gender roles at the same time. So like there's this hypocrisy going on that can't really be just instantly resolved like that.
exceptions to every rule. In some situations, yeah, I'm sure it maybe works.
Godspeed. That's a very good point. A lot of women who do have children when they're younger end up having flourishing careers when they're older. They're not mutually exclusive.
You know, you get some masculine chick that she wants to be out there working, and you get some feminine male and he wants to be in a home with the children and he has low T. Yeah, I'm sure that relationship dynamic works.
Well, hold on now. If I just get to stay home with the kids, I'm spending you don't have to stare at the kids all day. I'm spending a lot of that time in the gym. My T is going to be just fine. Okay. I'm going to be working out all the time. I'm being facetious. I'm sorry.
Kudos to them. Guess what? Exceptions don't make the rule, right? So generally speaking, that wouldn't work. So what would be my general answer to your question? Yeah, I would. If I see that, I'll be like, you're a cuck. What are you doing in the house? You're a loser. You're a dork.
Okay.
I don't
well,
think.
I would
I
make
think
fun
the
of
issue
them.
here is you're prescribing that this is the majority of things, and therefore we should encourage it. And all we're saying is we shouldn't necessarily adhere and say this is the only thing you can do. And you kind of gave that away in saying, yeah, there are exceptions, and that's kind of our point: is that there are exceptions to this. I don't think that makes them less of a man, and I don't think we should be shaming people for making a choice which you yourself agreed can
Is
work in certain
Generally,
places.
the wife would think that he's less of a man.
And if she does, then he's got a problem. But that
And
doesn't mean
men
we should
in the locker
discourage
Unless
them
you
from
are
trying
his
to do
wife.
things they
Ladies
like.
in the
on.
locker
All
room
right,
would think that he's
gentlemen,
less of a man. Oh, wait, you're at home cooking? I go home, food is already cooked for me, you dork.
I'm away, not to nag on the ladies I've dated, but I'm a way better cook than them. I'm cooking. Like, I love food. I want that to be I want my food to be damn good. I'm cooking. Unless she's like a professional chef, then she can cook sometimes.
So generally, guess what? What's naturally going to happen is he's going to be made fun of. That's what's naturally going to happen, right? So
Okay,
if you promote
Is
this.
that a should
are
or
promoting, no, it will happen.
okay?
It will happen. And
Yeah,
guess
well, so
and
we're
that's
not
what
arguing, just to be
happen.
clear, we're not arguing that there's not good, look, women give birth, right?
Yeah.
Apparently some men do now too, right? But that doesn't mean
No,
that a huge
that is
vast
that
majority of
never
women are the
happened.
ones giving birth, right? So we're not saying, well, we need to even this out. Men need to give more birth. We're saying that just because a vast majority of women are going to be giving birth to the next generation of people doesn't mean that prescriptively we should be telling them, hey, this means you have to be a homemaker. Hey, this means you have to do XYZ as a woman, right? This is
The
we're
point
not
that I'm
saying.
making, I get
Hold
what
on, let him
Yeah,
okay, I'm
finish.
sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Yeah, no, I
sorry,
think you
sorry,
guys
we're
let him
done.
respond. It's
Okay.
I think that we can promote. Yeah, she obviously has her opinions. She's more conservative. She's more on the Cooley Jake side of things. But she is a great moderator. She doesn't ever like come in on the side of who she agrees with. She's a very fair moderator. I've never seen a debate where I thought she was an unfair moderator. I think we can promote certain aspects of masculinity and femininity without like doing what Cooley is saying and like shitting on people that want to live a slightly different way. I think we can raise up certain aspects like promoting families, promoting having children, promoting men and women being hard workers, men and women being oriented around family creation, because this is something we all have to get around. Without like talking shit in the locker room. Like he sounds like he's talking about like dudes in high school. Like this isn't stuff that I see out in the world, and I have a pretty damn masculine job. And we just don't act like this towards each other. Like most of us have either long-term relationships or wives. A lot of us have kids, and some of us do other stuff, and it's all cool. Like we're all always learning about each other's lives. It's fun. It's cool. I mean, yeah, we talk shit to each other, but it's like it's all memes, you know? It's all none of it's real. It's not that deep, you know?
Go ahead.
No, I get what you're saying. And the point that I'm making is that people, like you said, in your opening, I want you to think a little bit, right? And I'm not saying this to like saying that you're not thinking, but like think on a question that I'm asking. Like I was active listening to you. So in your opening, you said that you want people to have freedom of choice,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
I believe that too. Have
Okay.
freedom of choice. Choose what you want. But guess what? We know that influence is a very powerful force, right? So since influence is a very powerful source, then I think that we should influence people to adhere to gender roles because we know that leads to higher birth rates. We know that leads to a lot of good things in society. But even though there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, there's always going to be people that don't choose to adhere to gender roles. But guess what? Let's say if we promote some propaganda to not adhere to gender roles, then it's just
Why does Soy Pill remind me of PC Principal from South Park? Because I'm gonna do this for you, okay? Don't say I never did anything for you. Because that's why. Because that's why. Okay? There's a vibe. All right.
it's going to increase the birth rates. It's going to increase the women not having.
Okay, I need Soy Pill and Wick TV to explain what will increase the birth rate in absence of this, like, lockdown on gender roles. I need them to describe this.
Children is going to increase women in the workforce and men being docile, like Wick's example of men being in the home, working and taking care of the children, and women out there working. It's just going to increase that. That's what I'm saying. The possibility will definitely increase if we push the opposite of gender roles.
We're not saying that we need to push the opposite of gender roles. We're saying we don't need to push gender roles.
Gender roles
the things
at
that
all.
you're, by the way, the things that you're prescribing that are like
feminism
hey,
is
a woman,
the
Hold on,
opposite
hold
of
on.
gender
He
roles.
waited,
though.
he waited,
a feminism
waited.
debate,
Go
right?
ahead,
We're
Soy. Go
talking about hey,
Yeah, this isn't a feminism debate. I think Soy Pill and Wick would generally call themselves feminists, but I don't actually. It's like a very light version of feminism, probably.
we want more women to have birth, give birth, right? Like you can do that exclusively of saying, hey, woman, you need to do this or you're.
How can we do that? Excluding saying, woman, you have to do this, men, you have to do this. I need you to tell them how. Please tell them how.
A bad person. It's just saying, hey, like we're going to incentivize this because we need replacement rates, and so if you want to do this, you can. This is about the choice. It's not saying, hey, the opposite of gender roles is better. It's saying,
okay, so that wasn't very stern. I want him to be more stern and like final about this. But he's basically getting to the point of we can promote these things without, and even maybe like you could call it propagandizing, you call it promoting, without strictly putting down people who don't want to get on board. Some people will always not want to get on board. That's fine. But we can promote these things without promoting the opposite and without making it feel forced. I want him to say that a little stronger, though.
Hey, there's good things from gender roles, but I think that the negatives that come from that don't need to happen, and we can promote good behaviors exclusive of gender roles. This doesn't mean we
Yeah,
have
I
to
think
do the
that
opposite.
men and
Real quick-
women
one quick
should be.
Hold
question
on, I
for you,
wanted
Soy
to
Pil.
give
One
Cooley
quick
the
question.
opportunity to respond because he
Yeah,
was
one
trying
quick
to
question
interject.
for you then, Soy Pil. Then do you want
No. You could. That's the point. That's the whole. Yeah.
No, I mean, I kind of misspoke, but all right. So, do you think that we should stop the propaganda and the push towards feminism, or should we? Because, like, you want to stop this gender role and this masculinity and femininity dynamic, right? That's what you want to stop. You say that we don't need to influence the masses towards that. So, my question for you is: then, should we
Stop the
influence?
feminism?
Yeah, should we stop feminism then?
It depends on what aspect you mean. It's a really wide topic, and there's probably a lot of stuff that you and I would agree is like not helpful to society. But ultimately, I think the point of
Based sentence right there. A lot of aspects of it are a little kooky. And you can, if you have 10 feminists in a room, you have 10 people that don't agree with each other.
feminism, and its very most generic gray blobby form, is to give women that choice, and I think that's a good thing, that people should be allowed to choose what they want to do. Now, if you're going to talk about like, hey, like, should we promote women saying never have kids and go be girl boss, like, yeah, again, that's promoting the opposite of.
No, yeah, I totally agree. Antinatalism is a horrible thing. Those feminists are there's antinatalism is like it's like enacting doomerism, kind of. I'm gonna come up with a better phrase to describe this.
Of the gender role. I'm not necessarily saying we do that, but I think feminism in its purest form is probably fine.
Oh, Wicked, you've watched enough of my videos to know how I feel about the draft.
I don't think that's a terrible
Should,
thing.
okay, so should we promote women should be independent and sexual liberation and stuff like that?
I think that we should promote women should have the choice to be independent and have sexual liberation if they want to.
But we already know that they all have a choice. So the thing is, what I'm getting at here, and I want the audience to pay attention, is that he's totally against promoting gender roles and masculinity and femininity, the good things about it, right?
No.
But in
that's not what I
regards to
said.
feminine, you are.
No, I
You
said we
are.
should take the good things from it and promote it in a non-gendered.
Yeah, but the sexual liberation of both men and women has gone way too far. Way too far. I think that's one of the biggest problems. And I am not innocent, okay? I'm guilty. I'm working on it.
way.
Oh, in a
you're
non-gendered
against
way.
it.
Oh, so you're
I'm
against
against exclusively gendering things. So like name me
you're
one
against it.
thing
So he's
for
You're
right.
against it,
men or
man.
Hold
women,
on, I
please.
did want because
Well,
I agree. I think virtues are across the board. It takes two to make a kid. It doesn't just take a woman. It takes two. Men and women both need to be encouraged towards procreation. It can't just be one. Like, it's not just women need to procreate, men need to go to war. It's like we all. How do I feel about Jesse Lee Peterson? I think bro, nobody knows what to think of Jesse Lee Peterson. Is he real? Is he just a meme? Is he? I've seen a few of his interviews and they're wild, man. He has like a script and then he just has, there's nothing else. Yeah, antinatalism is trash. I hate that. I hate that shit. That's just disgusting. I actually think that's like to be openly. I'll react to a Jesse Lee Peterson We'll do that next time. I promise. We'll do one Jesse Lee Peterson next time. We're gonna watch a funny one. But yeah, I honestly, the antinatalism stuff I think is like bordering on actual evil, in my opinion.
I'm
Wick,
curious,
you
like, because
well,
I could
hold
change my,
on.
they could change my mind here. Could you
Wick,
name me like a specific
Let
gender
him go
role,
for a
like a
minute, I'll get
societal
it.
expectation of someone that would not
I
be
can
able to
do
apply
that.
to both? Because when you say like, oh, give birth, you should have more babies. I don't really see that as a societal pressure insofar as like, yeah, we have to tell women to do this. Women have babies, they will do it. And yeah, if the
All right.
replacement rate got
We have to tell both because it takes two to tango.
to like a very, very low, like, hey, this is an existential crisis, I would probably promote some sort of government intervention. Like, look, guys, like in the same way conscription needs to happen to
I don't hate Thomas Sowell. I don't agree with him on everything, but I think that he comes to all of his sort of prescriptions and opinions based on a intellectual understanding and a logical framework. So I respect him for that.
defend our country. Woman, you got to have more babies or we're going to all go extinct. Like, I understand
All
that.
right.
That's very different from, hey, like, men do this, women do this. I think those can be extrapolated to both genders.
All right. First of all, Soy Pill, we need to get one.
Yeah, it's not women that need to have more babies. It's society. It's all of us. We all have to, not a pressure, but just a promotion that like this is a good thing. Like having relationships that are meaningful and long-term and procreating is a great thing for no, it could be turned around. It's not too late. It could be turned around. We're below replacement. We're getting to the point of plateauing soon, but it could be turned around for sure. And if it keeps, here's the thing, if it keeps going the way that it is, conservatives will outbreed liberals and then they'll fix the problem by themselves.
One thing straight, okay? I need you to say women.
I can't. I promise. I fuck this up all the time. Women.
Oh, dude, me too. I try to say women instead of woman, but it just comes out. No one ever taught us this shit in school. Okay, I'm sorry. No one ever taught me this shit. I'm 33. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of this one, I think you're trying to evade the whole question about birth rates. You just said that if there was an existential crisis with the birth rate, then you would promote gender roles, right? You would promote that biological.
No, that's not what he said. He said what I said, which is that we would promote procreation to men and women. It has to be both of us. It takes two to make a baby. AI is calling us to prepare for the future demand. Children need both parents for a balanced life because our parents are where gender roles are modeled. Yeah, we all, it's all of us. We all have to engage with these virtues and be promoted towards these virtues. That we don't have to gender them to promote them.
I would promote women to have more.
And yeah, AI is, I mean, well, soon there won't even be actors and actresses. You seen that, oh, what was it called? Asmongold was playing around with it the other day. But in like 3 minutes, you can make a movie that looks like real life out of nothing. Like out of nowhere. That's crazy. Like goodbye actors. Goodbye voice actors for sure.
Or I would incentivize them, yeah. But I don't think that's a gender role insofar as like, the way we know them today. Well, it's funny because like I said, I brought up Georgia, I brought up Hungary, and they're trying to do things by saying, hey, have 5 kids, you'll pay no taxes, or like, I guess maybe the Israel example works. I think that has a lot more to do with they feel like if they don't have enough babies, they will literally not have a country anymore.
Exactly.
And they're that close to it. And I think, yeah, if we got that close to it, maybe we would have to promote that women should have more babies. But again, when I talk about gender roles, I'm not talking about, hey, what is the biological imperative? I kind of said this in my opening to avoid this because I don't think it's nearly as important as most of these other. It's not about avoiding it because I don't think it's like a thing I can defend. It's just it doesn't matter insofar as, yeah, should we tell women that they need to have kids? I don't think we should, unless it was
we?
so existential that we had to, and I just don't think we're there yet. So
Did-
it's more
Okay.
about the fact that, hey, should women be allowed, like, have the choice to go work? It's like, yeah, absolutely, we should say you can choose that if you want. Is it better if women are in the house? Well, if they want to do that, they should be able to. And I don't think we should say you're a bad woman or you're not a real woman if you don't do either of those things.
I agree that we shouldn't say that, but aside from not saying those negative things, we have to promote these things in a non-gendered way to all of society. He really needs to nail down on this. He's not coming out as strong as I want him to.
But that's
All
more
right.
of where I'm coming from.
Okay.
And let me,
okay,
Jake,
okay.
for
There's a
just a
lot-
moment. I wanted to throw it back to Wick because he was waiting his turn for a while.
A
I
little
wanted to
bit.
give him an opportunity, and then back to you, Jake.
A little bit. I
mean,
will say
it's
that.
a lot to respond to, but yeah.
Sure.
Yes, you absolutely can. Just let Wick throw.
Yeah,
go through.
I just have a quick question. I ditched out for a minute, so maybe I missed the answer to this question, right? Simply because my internet just had a hiccup. So if I do, just please repeat it for me. Forgive me for that. But did you ever answer Soy's question about what is a specifically like a masculine trait that only applies to men?
Yeah,
They said
defending
the
the
give
country.
birth one.
Mil-
but
I agree with Jake. Kind of. He's looking at it from the physical. They keep calling on you. What? Oh, because what? Yeah. The physical aspect will most likely be dominated by men until we reach a transhumanist society and we transcend our physical forms and become cyborgs. Which I'm super pumped for, by the way. I'm being facetious again. But women play a huge role in this too. It's not as gendered as Jake wants us to think that it is.
even though I
militarily.
kind of
Defending
Yeah.
the country.
So we're
There's
getting
plenty of
into- we're getting into the
again,
we're
when
getting
you,
into
if I may, if I may respond to
listen,
that,
Wick.
if I may
If
respond
you're
to
going
that.
to sit
course
here and
not.
argue with me that women can exclusively defend the country and that men can't,
It's always this exclusively thing. It's not about exclusively. Like, we need to work together to get to all of these goals. Defending the country, one goal. Procreation, another goal. We need to work together to do these things. Men and women, we need to work together to do these things. We need to work together in society, and we need to work together in our personal lives.
that men don't have the imperative to defend the country.
Hold on.
then
Did
we're
you
just gonna
defend?
get
Have you
into a
ever defended the
territory of
country? Have you ever
absurdity.
served?
Well, Jake's Australian. Nobody attacks Australia.
Okay, so that means that men can't defend the country.
have
Well
you ever
done. Yes,
served?
great argument. Great
No, I'm
argument.
just
Wick.
asking,
Well,
just so I know
great
how much I have to
argument.
explain.
Because
if,
I've
if
never
I
done
may,
it, that
Jake,
means
he's
that
not
men
saying that
can't.
men
Okay.
can't defend the country. He's saying that this is clearly not a gender role that only men can like do
Absolutely.
this. In
I
fact,
just don't
most
know-
men don't. I mean, like the percentage of people in the military that are men, or just people in
Go
the
ahead,
military.
Wick.
Yeah, I
period,
just-
is like a
I-
very small
the
percentage,
reason
so-
I'm asking, right, is because I don't know how much I have to explain to you about how like our defense structure works, our defensive industrial base, or anything regarding war or anything like that works. So I need to know how much experience you have with it. Have you ever served in any capacity? No. Okay. So we have a wealth of people in the American military, right, and also in the Israeli military, which you mentioned to somehow support your point that women can't defend the country and things like that. There's this thing called technology, and it works wonders. We have, and you can see this in the Ukraine and Russian war. A lot of the fighting now is done via drones, and sure, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I was going to get to this if no one said it, but women can obviously pilot drones from a desk. Obviously. Like,
exclusively to that, but to act as if women cannot support our defense and serve in the country.
and also the more women that are in support roles means more men can be on the front lines. Like, these things aren't mutually exclusive. Like, the more women that we have, the better. Like, we all have to work together to do all of these things.
And that it is a strictly masculine trait to defend the country is just, forgive the French here, but it's bullshit.
Uh-oh. What happened to Sarah? Sarah kick herself? She turned into Harley Quinn. Uh-oh.
Bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah,
what's,
and
the
what
death,
he's-
what's the death toll? If you look at the death toll of the Russia-Ukraine war, what is it meant to women, Wick?
Do you know?
Yeah. But
What
you
is
know-
it? Tell me.
Well, you don't. You seem like an
I'm,
expert
I'm,
about it.
I'm just
You-
asking
you
you,
Do you know, Jake?
seem
what
like an
you
expert
think
about
it is.
warfare. So do you know what the death toll is? If you had to guess, what would it be?
I'm
And then name all the
sure that more
oblasts.
men have died than women because more men serve than women.
Well, what do you think? What do you think roughly? Like if you had to give me a percentage, how many percentage? of
10 to
people
1,
do you think
5 to
would be
1, something like that.
500.
Yeah,
to
it's
one.
it's at least not over 99% men who are dying in
Certainly.
warfare. Do you think that's a coincidence, Wick? Do you think that's just because maybe
I already
the women
told
are
you it's
so good at
because
combat, they're
most
just
of
dodging
the
bullets,
most
or
of
do
the
you think
people
that's
serving on the
because
front line
the
are
men
men.
are the ones who are
Let Jake
conscripted
go,
to the
then.
front line to defend the country because they're literally fighting with bayonets in some regards, and they're fighting in hand-to-hand combat. You're saying that the warfare is so different. No, it's not. This is like World War I, World War II type warfare that's happening over in Russia, Ukraine at the moment. And there's thousands and thousands of men dying every single day. So you can sit there from your little studio and say that, oh, hypothetically, women could press a button and women could drop a bomb. But that's just not the reality of the way that things are working. And it's the exact same thing in the Israeli-Hamas war
Well,
at the
maybe
moment.
the women aren't
All
dying because
men
they're
dying.
smart and they're hiding behind the drone
No,
controller. You know, like
here-
all the stupid
That's probably
men.
right.
This
Yeah.
is,
They're probably
uh,
just dodging bullets.
It's just silly, right? To think that
Okay, tell me how it's silly.
Sure, there are women right now in the American military who help pilot drones and things like that, and these are very, very lethal weapon systems, lethal equipment. And while yes, there are places where it takes strength, who do you think would win in a fight? If I gave a woman a gun and you didn't have a gun, and I told you,
This is a bad example. Oh, Wick, this is a bad example. Women routinely have their firearms taken from them and used against them when they're trying to use them for self-defense against unarmed men. It's unfortunate. It has a lot more to do with training than strength, but this was a bad example because I know that Jake knows this example. Oof. Because like I gotta be honest, if we're less than 15 feet apart, I'm gonna get to you before you have the gun out. Like, not that I would ever do that, obviously, but actually none of you know me like that, so it's not obvious. I would never do that. Yeah, it's not a great equalizer if people aren't trained how to use them, which is a huge problem. But this is a bad example to use because even if Wick knows that part, now they're just going to get embroiled in the like, is it training? Is it strength? Is it this? Is it that? Is it blah, 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 blah. Yeah, if she had a gun and I'm less than 15 feet away, I'm winning. I'm still winning. Now we're going to assume that I am not the aggressor in this situation because I would never do that. But statistically, it bears out that they very frequently have their firearms taken from them. I think it's more than half. So this is a bad point, Wick. And this next part is going to go poorly for Wick. That's my prediction.
you guys get to fight, and you had to put money on who's going to win that fight. Who would it be?
Yeah, well, it's disanalogous. How about we say this? This is
Answer
a
my
fair
question.
analogy.
Oh, Jake doesn't know. Jake doesn't know. Jake could have shut that down instantly, but I don't think he knows. Okay, cool.
Please.
This is a fair analogy.
Can you
If
answer my
give a
question?
man a gun
I want
and
the
a woman
audience
a
to know
gun,
that
who do you
he
think is
cannot
more
answer the
likely to win?
question. Just
Well,
let
because
that be known.
it's a stupid question.
It-
If you give a
it's-
woman a gun, and
you
she's
may be a
pointing at the
stupid
man,
person.
It's a hypothetical, and Jake, I happen to have it on good authority because I've watched you quite a few times to know that you force people to answer hypotheticals all the time, even if they're not perfectly correlated to the question. So, like, come on, buddy. Come on. Just answer the question. If it's an out-of-pocket hypothetical, you can answer the hypothetical and then counter it. But I don't think he knows the counter, which we just went over. We know the counter. But he doesn't know, apparently.
The
person,
man
but I
has no
promise
gun.
you it's a very
Obviously, the
intelligent question.
woman is going to be able to kill him. But it's disanalogous, Wick, because if you have a Russian man with a gun and
Not obviously.
a Ukrainian woman with a gun, or let's say we have 20 on each side, 20 men, 20 women. The women are getting smoked every single time.
That's
Wait,
just
why?
not
Don't you
true.
think they
It-
have better
There's a
training than the,
whole
Russian
host of
military?
factors that would allow women to just entirely smoke that regiment of men. Mostly it would come on to intelligence. Who was able to see
funny,
the
just-
other people?
It's really
before the
funny how
rest.
this is just not happening in reality.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
just a
it
complete figment of your imagination, Wick. This is just not happening in reality. So you
Ooh, Cooley might know the counter though. He looks like he wants to come in, so he might know the counter.
can sit here and you can argue all day.
Again,
Oh, well, we could give the women some special
you
forces
just
training. But it's
said
not- why aren't they
that
doing that? Why aren't they
99% of the
doing that?
casualties are men. So that might
Yes.
suggest that the women are dying at a less high rate because they are better at it.
No, because they
That
are not
dummy.
in the military. They are not in the military.
Can I
Wick.
try to
Wick,
refocus?
Okay, I'll
Can
just
I
let
ask
the
a
audience
question?
decide on that one.
refocus it a little
Yeah.
bit, Wick, because I don't think he's understanding, or maybe he's just being disingenuous. But obviously, there's more men in the military for a reason.
Yes, it's a
women
traditional
are in
rule.
women are in the military in some supportive roles and some of the roles that you stated as well, but it's on a macro level. Would you want a lot of women to join? Like his example, 20 women versus 20 men. The men would destroy them.
I would
And it's
have
not
to.
because like Soy Pill said, let me finish. It's not because like Soy Pill said, well, they can probably destroy the men if they have better training. No, it's from a biological thing, right?
What
Biologically-
biological imperative makes them better at
Stop
shooting?
it. Incorrect. Biologically,
That's the
men are better at reflexes. Men are
So there are like women sharpshooters that are incredible, amazing. Some a lot better than men, especially when you look at like competition sharpshooting. Shooting a military AR is a completely different ballpark. It does require a certain level of strength to control a weapon of that caliber over and over and over and over and over again. But they can concede all of this and still there's still refutations. But this is that force doctrine thing that just the left will not concede, but like they can. Yeah, some of the most notorious snipers are females, but when we talk about using a military AR, that's a whole different ballpark. So when it comes to like 20 men versus 20 women, yeah, the men would probably win in like a battlefield scenario. But you can concede this stuff. You can concede this whole force doctrine thing, and there's still counter arguments that they could make. They just really, I've never seen a liberal concede force doctrine in a debate, and I don't understand why, because you can. It's not a what's the word? Jim Bob and Jay Dyer were using it a defeater. It's not a defeater. Like we can acknowledge force doctrine and still say that we don't need to force gender roles upon society. Like it's not a defeater.
are better at eye-hand coordination and a multitude of other things. So
They're stronger, they carry the
biologically,
equipment.
they're stronger to carry the equipment, everything. Biologically, men are just better operators at guns and everything else, bro. Women will get destroyed.
I mean, this is
I
kind of
think
a silly
that
hypothetical,
if
so
I
I don't
may.
really jump in too much further because I do have a question, and this kind of brings this back to this gender
then-
roles
and then
thing. So
Toy.
I would posit that you would both agree with this, but let me know if you don't. Do you think that men have a duty to defend the household?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So would you say if the man's at work and someone comes in and the mom is there with the kids, does she have a duty to defend her kids?
They better say yes. The only right answer is yes. They better say yes.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yes.
Okay.
So would you say that then we could both say, hey, parents should probably defend their children, and we can say that without gendering it, and that's totally a
Yes. Thank you, Soy, because this is a group effort. It applies to defense of the home. It applies to defense of the nation. It applies to all these things. These are virtues that both men and women should espouse to. Is that the right word? That might be the wrong word. I'm not an English major, okay? I'm an HVAC technician.
Defined statement and takes
And a stagehand, fun fact. I stopped doing that though because the hours were absurd and I'm getting old.
the positives from both of those gender roles and says, hey, why don't we promote good behavior that's going to make society flourish by saying, be a virtuous person and defend your children?
Hold on a second. Do you believe that a man has a duty to defend his household?
Yeah,
Or
of
would you put
course.
your wife in front? Okay, so then you
Well,
you
again,
believe what we
see
believe.
how
That's-
you've like now implicated a situation where, hey, don't you think it's worse if you throw the weaker and less effective person into the fray when you have a dangerous situation? And I've completely not talked about that at all. Like, yeah, I
Weaker and
agree.
less
I don't
effective?
think you should. I also don't think that a child should be on the front line of that and say, hey, I'm gonna
Mm.
throw my kid in front of the bullets.
But and here's my counter. If your 16-year-old is watching your 10-year-old at home, there have been situations where kids have defended their households, and that 16-year-old is the person that's home that's going to have a duty to do whatever they can to protect the little one. It might, when you're that young, it's probably not going to be to like fight. It's probably going to be to hide or run away, but you're going to take control of that situation in some way. That's kind of your duty. Now, as we move down the chain of command here, as far as like the force ability goes, yeah, it's going to be less likely that it's going to be a force applied, but you're still, as like the whoever is like the most capable person does have a duty to have some kind of like semblance of whatever over the situation. So even if it was just the kids at home, there's still going to be like someone's going to still have a duty to like do something. It might not be force at that point, but there is something that has to go on. Like you'd want your 16-year-old to take your 10-year-old and run or hide or do whatever they had to do to mitigate the situation if they could.
So I can get a couple extra shots off. But I'm saying that both the man and the woman should be protecting their household to the extent of their abilities. And you don't have to
Do
say,
you guys
hey, if
disagree
you
with
can't
that?
do this, you're a bad man or you're a bad woman.
Hold on a second. So just quickly, you do agree that you just said that women are weaker and less effective.
Yeah, in principle and in general, I don't think in every case, but yeah, in most cases, I would say.
So
Wick,
so
do you agree to
therefore
that?
it would be yeah. Wick, you agree?
Physically,
factual, I
yes.
mean.
Okay, cool.
But
Well, so
again,
then
if my
that-
wife
Okay, they're kind of conceding force doctrine here. That's good because you can concede force doctrine and it's not a defeater.
had a
that
gun and I
completely-
did not,
Yeah.
then the one with the gun is going to be doing the work. You understand, right?
Okay, let's just give the women the guns. I'm sure they'll be.
If
super
they happen to
turned on
have
by
it,
that statement.
again, you're positing
Yep.
this situation, right? Where like, oh,
Listen,
the
if
man
woman
has to
the
come
gun,
up
she
and
throws the
st-
gun to the man.
I guess I don't get to talk today. I guess you guys
I just
get
heard
to
the
interrupt.
collective
That's a very
I wanna-
feminine
I
trait.
wanna
whole
just
entire
kind of
Fair.
Well, let's all talk over each other. Thank you, Sarah.
Right.
reset the panel, and I want to just throw a funny little joke out there. I think I'm the only one here that actually has served in the military.
I served for 6 years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was a
Wick, I didn't know.
cryptolingüist. That's why I asked, right? That's why I'm bringing this up.
Yeah.
Unlike the
This is
yeah, I
great.
guess you got your chatters who are like the Meal Team 6, the people like that, right? But no, I've served alongside many women in the armed services of the Air Force specifically, and they were
I think
very
we
effective.
should carry on that line though. Just in terms, so you guys actually agree that women are weaker and less effective than men. That completely makes
general,
our
yeah.
point about the military thing. That you just made our point. You just completely just
What's
destroyed
your
your own argument
point?
there.
That all
Our-
men
our
should serve in the
point
military?
Is that you were saying that women can be as effective at military and that they're dying at lesser rates because they're just so damn good at
Well,
it.
I was
They're just
joking.
No,
about
I was
the
I was
whole, there's
memeing on your.
positive
Hold on,
and
if I may.
negative.
I was making fun of your point. You understand why I was saying that, right? Because I was making fun of your dumbass point from earlier, where you said 99% of men are dying. It's because yes, you have far more men in the military than you have women. So obviously that's going to be the case. But to act as if that means something in the case of the argument that we're having with gender roles is just not true. Look,
Well, it does
I
mean
said at the
something.
beginning
Let
of
me
the
stop you
I
right
said at
there.
the beginning I said it, you can't stop me right there. So I said
You can't stop me right there. I like it. Be assertive.
at the
Been blown
beginning,
out
right?
there.
I said at the beginning of this discussion during my opening statement that I think the best person for the job that just so happens to be men in many cases.
Yes, but we all should be promoted to these virtues. Thank you, Wick. We're going to fall into a lot of our traditional roles. It's going to happen naturally. but they are not gendered necessarily. You can promote these virtues to all people. That's the best way to do it, because then you always get the best people. Whether it's going to be mostly men, sure, but there's going to be a lot of women too.
But when we go into these traditional gender roles and we make them strict and we make them restrictive, what that does is that women who might happen to be better marksmen than everyone else, right, that's around them, which can happen. I'm sure you would agree. Like, it might be rare, but it can happen. When we make these gender roles too restrictive, what we do is we lessen our ability to have the best person for the job in there. And again, while I, on general, might be way more able to carry equipment and hike farther and things like that, if a woman in my squad happens to be a better shot than me, they're going to be taking point because obviously.
So here's what I wanted to say.
Did he freeze?
No, I'm still
no.
here.
Oh,
I thought you
oh,
were
I
too.
I'm very still at times. It's
How do
okay.
you think he survived
he-
in the military?
It's
so
true,
long?
I just-
couldn't
I
see
thought he
him.
froze for a
No, everyone just stopped talking for a second there.
second.
Camo.
But so in regards to this whole point about the military and everything like that, like, it was a lot of influence behind getting men to be in the military. This is why men go towards being in the military. If you even look at, like, commercials and in the 90s, there were so many commercials that was pushing forth a lot of propaganda to get men in the 90s, the 80s, the 50s, all of it. It was
commercials.
a
Okay.
lot of influence. And also the military, they have a big recruiting team to recruit men into the military. So think about if we just took that away. Think about if we took the influence away of the military influencing society to join for their service. If we took that away, there will be less men. There will most likely be less men going into the military. That
Again,
would
you're-
conclude to that. Yes, right?
We're not arguing to say we should get rid of military recruitment. We're saying it doesn't
Yeah.
make you less of a man if you don't serve in the military. And this kind of goes back. We keep bringing up military. I don't know why. This is such a small minority of the population, let alone men. And to say that it's a male
No,
gender
yeah,
role is ridiculous because
Yeah,
most men
but you're
don't embody this
missing
at all. And that's
something.
kind of
I
the
got you,
point.
but you're missing something, because remember my question, which you never answered.
I
My
promise I
question that
answered
you
it.
never, no, you didn't answer it. My question that you never answered was when you said that people should have the freedom to choose,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And then I said, well, influence is one of the most powerful forces out there, right?
Okay.
So should we influence people to adhere to gender roles, or should we influence people not to? And
I
so,
said no,
well, let
first
me-
of all.
well,
Well,
to
let me
that
ask
one
you
you said
this.
no,
Do
to
you
that
think
one-
that telling men
Let
to
me
go into the
finish. To
military
that
is
one you
enforcing
said
gender
no.
Hold
roles?
on,
To that one you said no.
gentlemen.
To the other question, my follow-up, well, should we influence the masses towards feminism? You said you couldn't answer the question. You
I
couldn't answer
said
the question.
depends
So
on
it
what you're
seems,
promoting.
stop it.
No, he answered that question. If I remember correctly, he said it depends on which parts of feminism, because he doesn't agree with all of them. And that was an answer. I believe he even gave some examples. So he definitely answered your question.
But
So,
soy
if
pill.
you could
Stop it.
elaborate, I
Hold
can
on,
Stop
answer
it.
hold
more
on.
specifically.
I'll
Hold on, hold on.
elaborate.
Oh, look, it's Rachel with her anecdotes as usual.
Hold on. David, please finish your statement, and then Soy Pill, you're welcome to respond.
Yeah, so it seems, Soy Pill and also Wick, it seems that you are okay, fully okay with promoting and influencing the masses towards sexual liberation and some
No, I'm not.
degenerate behavior and away from gender roles.
No, I'm not.
Well, okay,
didn't
cool.
ask
Well,
me.
let's just say
I'll be
away
clear.
from gender roles,
I'll bite the
away
bullet.
from. It seems
him-
that you
let
are
him finish.
okay with influencing the masses. Oh,
I think Rachel is more palatable sometimes. Depends on who she's talking to. There was this one clip from the Whatever podcast, and she was on the video screen. And she was actually having a pretty productive conversation with the girls. It was like all college girls on that episode. They were really young, and she was just kind of like explaining a lot of things about society. And I didn't agree with all of them, but she was being a lot more palatable than other times that I've seen her when she's just definitely an Andrew puppet. So it kind of, I've seen her be more palatable. So I'll generally agree with that. Yeah. See, here's the thing. If we influence the masses towards virtues without gendering them, we end up with gravitating towards it. Like, we don't have to gender these virtues to get society more cohesive, because the problem isn't, in my opinion, of course, the problem isn't a lack of adherence to gender roles. It's a pulling apart of just the unification and working together of men and women. That's the main problem. Because like I mentioned way at the beginning, I don't know if you were all here, it doesn't actually take a ton of men to fulfill the societal masculine roles. Like, it doesn't take all of us. And childbearing, while the bearing part will always be done by women, females, however you want to say it, procreation and family creation is non-gendered. We both have to be on board for that. So I don't think that these virtues need to, or even are actually as gendered as we think they are. I think we need to promote virtues among society, and that will fix the problem a little bit more. Are all laws not legislating morality? I mean, probably. I'm not like, I don't really think we should be like legislating this though. I have all kinds of problems with the laws that we have or don't have. I have a lot of problems with both. But again, that's going to be topic to topic. That's going to depend on which thing we're talking about. That's what we like to call a whole bag of cats. Because when you open it, it's just like, bag of cats.
Away from gender roles.
Why is Rachel's super chat still on the screen? It's been up there for like 5-10 minutes now.
That is true, but you have a problem with gender roles. You have this problem, and you even know, y'all both concluded that, well, not pushing society, you do know the positive effects of gender roles.
Yeah, that's a good one too. A bag of Pandora's boxes. That would be like a bag of cats. That would be like a bag of cats full of bags of cats.
When people adhere to gender roles, you do know the positive effects. So if we know that influence is the most powerful force, well, shouldn't we want to influence the masses towards something that we know brings about a positive result rather than a negative result? We know the negative results of feminism, but you didn't. Oh, you said, oh, well, no, I think that feminism is cool. It's a good thing.
No, hold on.
That's not what he said. He said that some aspects of feminism have done good things for society, and there are a lot of aspects of feminism that he thinks are not great for society. That's what he said. Cooley is being very disingenuous right now.
Come on. So again, let me respond real quick, and then you can jump in, because this is me not answering the question.
I think we might have different answers, by the way.
Yeah, and I think actually we would disagree on this, Wick. So go ahead, feel free to contradict me. I'm not saying we should promote feminism and we shouldn't promote traditional gender roles. I, again, spoke from a very vague term of, hey, we should promote good behaviors, and we're probably going to disagree on which those behaviors are. I'm saying those good behaviors don't need to be gendered. And I'm saying that, yeah, if you're promoting feminism, you're probably going to be promoting potentially some harmful behaviors. That doesn't mean we should promote feminism. The only thing I said was, well, because feminism is such a encompassing term, if we're just going off the definition of should people be...
Yeah, like I said, if you have 10 feminists in a room, you have 10 people that don't agree with each other in a room.
Able to choose, should women have more choice in society, then yeah, I guess I'm promoting choice and you're promoting, no, I think that men and women should be in this very strict kind of lane, and that's just what I want to move away from. I think that people should be able to choose what they want to choose. If that's what feminism is, then sure, but you're kind of promoting it as this like dichotomy of it's the opposite of gender roles, which to a degree it is if you think women traditionally shouldn't have.
Hey Hannah, how's it going? Welcome to chat. Good to see you again. I saw some of your comments on my last video. Very cool.
More choice, but
or a couple videos ago.
No, it is the opposite of gender roles. Feminism, I mean, we all have a clear, I'm not sure what your definition of feminism is, but let's just, my definition would be that it's the move towards egalitarianism, where men and women are equal. And you concluded with your own statement where Jake.
Yeah, that's a certain type of feminism. But like Soy Pill said, feminism is this extremely vague, extremely all-encompassing term that like I said, if you have 10 feminists in a room, I'm going to say it, this is the third time now. If you have 10 feminists in a room, you have 10 people that don't agree with each other in a room. So some feminism, yes, is about the sexes are equal. Some is about they're all very different. Let's just leave it at that, or I'm going to go on a freaking rant again.
Checked you on, you know that women are weaker than men. So they're
I
not
don't think
equal
you
to a man.
find
You actually,
feminism existing
if
as
I
men and
may-
women are going to become the same strength.
Hold on,
That's not-
hold on.
You do not want to stop the promotion of feminism, but you want to stop the promotion of
Wicked. In countries where egalitarianism is promoted, gender roles tend to be highlighted. That is exactly, I think, our point here. When you just promote virtue and you don't force people to adhere to these roles, we kind of naturally go to them anyway. So like it's not a requirement to force people into these roles or specifically push these virtues as gendered roles. If you just promote virtues in society, people in general align to kind of what is best for them, and there are gendered trends in what is kind of best for us. Not everyone falls into them, and when you kind of like harangue and point down on the people who don't necessarily commit to them, then you get more people who get butthurt about that, and then they'll do it out of spite, which is what we have happening here. So we just promote virtues. That's what I think we need to do. Yeah, I have some ideas for that, but I still want to see if Soy Pill and Wicked get into them a little bit more. They're doing kind of the vague answer that I'm giving right now, but I want to see if they have some like solid examples of stuff like that. And yes, Godspeed and Wicked, I agree with both of your statements right there.
gender roles. It doesn't make any sense where you know yourself that feminism is rooted into nonsense. It's not even rooted into reality. You know that men are stronger than women. Look at you. You got a little tight shirt on with your muscles out. You're probably going to the gym. So you adhere to some reality. Plane landed.
Again, real quick.
Yeah, Soy Pill's fucking jacked and based.
I have to keep responding
gosh,
because
it's
I keep saying feminism is just.
let's go
If
soy
I'm
and then
just saying
Wick.
feminism is women having the ability to choose. If you want to make it a more specific definition, we can get into the minutia of whether or not I agree with. Hey, should we promote XYZ behavior? I just
Go to the gym, boys. Whether you're traditional, modern, whatever the f you are, go to the gym. It's fun. Makes you feel better. Makes you look better. It's just better. Everything's just better. You just feel better. I'm not close to as jacked as Soy Pill. I don't go to the gym probably as much as him. But even just going a little bit, it's just great for you. Just go a little bit. It's fun. It's like weird at first. Yeah, exactly, Hannah. Men are like Soy Pill's stronger than everybody else on this panel. It's not even close. Like it's not even in the ballpark. Actually, no, Cooley looks like he works out pretty heavy too. They're probably close. They're probably close. Cooley can probably get in there too. But I mean, Wick's been out of the game for a while. Jake he's not out of shape, but he's nothing compared to the other two guys. And yeah, like there's all variation among men, among women. These aren't gendered things. On average, yeah, men are going to be stronger than women if you just take the average, but it's not that important, But no matter who you are, male, female, man, woman, work out, go to the gym, be healthy. It's good for you, no matter who you are.
I think people should be able to choose what they want, and if that's what feminism is, then I'm fine with that.
So everything is choice to you, Soy Pill.
What do you mean?
Soy, were
No,
you
I'm just.
done?
You asked me to define feminism, so I'm
So,
saying in the most vague terms.
but everything is choice to you. That's what I'm saying. So you're saying feminism is freedom to choose, gender roles is freedom to choose,
Well,
like
it sounds
everything
like
is
Do you
freedom
roles
to
not
aren't
choose.
think?
a
Hold on,
freedom
can I,
to
if I
choose,
may,
right?
if I may,
Go ahead, Wick.
I just want to jump in here. Cooley, do you not think? Is that your name, Cooley? Am I getting that right? I don't want to get it wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
You got it
Do
correct.
you not think, or do you think that women should not be able to choose what they do in their life?
I see you, Godspeed. I see you there. Yeah. I mean, they're not even really getting into like equity under the law, Hannah. They're just talking about like, should we promote gendered roles in society, or should and Soypill and Wick are saying we should promote virtues in society and let people fall where they belong, where they are most likely to succeed and be of a help to society, which generally will probably, for the most part, fall along those traditional roles that Cooley and Jake want so badly. But for some people, it won't. And we want those people to be in the place that they're going to be the most productive and the best for society, which may not be in their gendered role. And pushing those gendered roles, you get a bunch of people that may have fallen into those gendered roles if you just laid off them a little bit, and then you might start getting into problems. And I think Soypill and Wick are doing great in this debate. This is a really good debate, by the way. I'm really enjoying this.
That isn't what I said.
That's why
I'm
I'm
saying
asking.
that-
I'm asking so I can know your
No,
answer.
I've already. So you wasn't active listening. I already answered the question, and I agreed with Soypill. I said, well, yeah, I do think people should have freedom of choice, but I said that
You went on a
influence-
monologue about how
No, I said
against
influence-
soy, about how is choice everything to you? And I guess to ask you that question, right? When is your line where choice is not the issue? When do women not get to choose for themselves, or men for that
He's
matter?
speaking about influence,
not get to
choice.
choose.
I'm speaking about influence. I'm saying that influence is a huge predictor on what someone is going to choose.
He's sort of right. But when they say influence, they're talking about a very like aggressive type of influence that's very pointed at specific people doing specific things. And yeah, there are some things I'm a little wishy-washy with the two of them on, but in this debate, I think they're doing a really excellent job. But what they're not understanding is just that we promote virtues non-gendered, and that can also work, and possibly even better, because when you influence people in that extremely aggressive way, they're more likely to like fight back, even if it's not what is actually best for them or actually what they want to do in life. If you just promote virtue in a very like positive way, people are more likely to get on board with that type of influence. But that's not the type of influence that they're promoting right now.
Like
Possibly.
influence creates. Stop it. Influence creates thinking. Thinking creates behavior.
Do you think that influence is a form of control?
Okay, Cooley just he made a sentence. I'm not sure how much meaning was behind that one, but he did make a sentence. This is an interesting one. It was very rhythmic.
Influence can be used as a form of control.
Okay. I think that people have the ability to break away from their influence. There's plenty of influences that I have felt in my life where I've decided, you know what, even though I'm being influenced to do a certain thing, I am a free agent and capable of free choice, and I'm able to not succumb to that influence and do other things, right? So the reason I'm advocating here tonight against this enforcement of strict strict traditional gender roles is because
No,
I
an
think that
influence
influencing
of strict
Right.
that
gender roles.
society, society, community, etc., trying to influence people into these strict gender roles does a lot of harm to people because it restricts their choice. As you've admitted right here, it is a form of control. And I think that we should not, neither society nor the government should be in the business of trying to control its citizens to that degree. And I think that if a woman wants to go out and enter the workforce, she should be allowed to do so and not looked down upon for doing so. And if a man wants to be a stay-at-home dad and wants his wife to go out and work, that should be their choice. Unless you're married to the guy, it shouldn't be your decision whatsoever.
Can I just
So
really
would you
quickly,
stop the
Cooley, you
influence
mind
of
if I take this
feminism?
on?
Real quick,
Uh,
would you stop the
Yeah.
influence of feminism?
He keeps using this word feminism, and they've already explained this to him so many times. So many times. They've explained this to him so many times. Feminism is not a monolith. It means so many different things to so many different people. Like, it's some of it, yes, some of it, no. Like, geez, why is it all or nothing with such a vague thing? Like I consider myself to be a liberal, but there are some parts of liberal ideology that I push back on. Like I give some pushback to. It's not everything exists in a monolith like this.
I think that has been pernicious in many ways too. Yes.
You
Yep.
would.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, cheers, man. So you said that the government shouldn't be. Well, how did you feel about the mask mandates?
How did I feel about the mask?
Oh boy. Oh boy, we're about to get into it. We're about to get into it. We got the mask mandates going on now. Oh boy, here we go. Everyone buckle in.
Mandates. Do you think those were
Yeah.
gendered? I think
No,
that
no,
the
I'm
government
just saying
has a duty to protect its citizens. I didn't like the mandates. I don't
Oh.
like mandates in general. I didn't like the COVID lockdowns. I didn't like the mandate
wait.
vaccines, anything like that. But I don't think that these are the
would
similar
you-
thing to society influencing its citizens.
I think the mandate part probably turned a lot of people off. I think we could have promoted the vaccines and being safe and doing the social distancing, and I love social distancing, by the way. Nobody came anywhere near me when I was out in public. It was fantastic. I loved it. But the way that the sort of left side of politics during that time was like, if you don't wear masks, you're evil. Like, that was not helpful. That didn't get people to want to wear masks. Like, there was a much better way to promote this in like a casual way to get people on board with like, hey, all right, this horrible thing is happening in the world, and we should all, it's going to be a couple of years maybe, but we can all do our part to help society get through this as healthily as possible. And I think there were a lot of better ways that the left could have addressed that situation without putting conservatives on such like a strong guard. Not handled the best way ever.
There's
to
a
perform a certain
line
gender
of
role.
questioning, and you'll be able to understand. So, did you think that it was good that people were wearing masks?
Was it good? I don't. I
Yeah.
think it was neutral. I didn't see it
Okay.
as
Did
good
you think
or
that
It was okay. It turned out the masks weren't really the biggest deal. The social distancing was the biggest thing that helped us. Staying like 10, 15 feet away from each other. Not having like concerts and raves and parties and big gatherings where everyone's clustered together. Those were the things that would have helped us the most. It turns out the masks didn't do too much based on the research that I've seen, but either way, it was something that might have helped. We weren't sure. We tried it. You literally only had to wear them to go to the grocery store and come home. Like, well, not even go home. As soon as you got back to your car, like, I don't think it was that big of a deal.
it was good that people were getting the vax?
I think that it was neutral, neither good nor evil.
Okay. Do you think it's good that we don't promote that? Do you think that it would be good if we don't have domestic violence?
Do I think it would be good to not have domestic violence? Sure.
Yeah. So do you think that the government should be promoting people not to engage in domestic violence?
Yes,
No, this is a whole different thing entirely. The government should be arresting people who engage in domestic violence. That's Jake. Come on, Jake. Come on. Come on. That's a oh God.
I think there should be laws against domestic violence. I agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying that the government should. So you're saying that the government should promote certain behaviors.
Yes, but not gender roles.
Why? Why should they do that? Why should you? But you made a sweeping statement before. You said that the government should not be influencing people to do this. Why? Why should they influence people to do that?
If you listen to my
The chat, do I need to explain to you the difference between the government influencing people to something and the government forbidding something because it is a assault? I don't think I need to explain that to you guys.
my entire statement, I said the government should not be influencing or controlling its citizens in regards to gender roles and their choices of how to live their lives and what to do. Now, obviously, there are some basic restrictions on this. I can't go out and punch someone in the face. I think it should be against the law for me to do so. I shouldn't be able to go out and choose to steal someone's stuff because it negatively
Oh, perfect. Wick's going to explain it to you anyway.
impacts others. But when it comes to being a parent, right, or a stay-at-home dad, or a mom who works and things like that, I don't think that these have enough negative impacts on society to warrant the government coming in and mandating it. Do you think they should be mandated? Do you think that the government should come in and place restrictions on men staying at home instead of being in the workforce?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out that that's not what you said before. What you said before is that the government should not be in the business of influencing people like we're saying. We are saying the opposite
But
thing.
it was
We
in
are
the
saying that
context of
there
this
should
whole
be some sort of
conversation.
societal influence and
Are you dumb?
governmental influence on good behaviors. I mean, you can try and just throw out ad hominems if you want there, but
You can try to
unfortunately,
pronounce it.
when you
but
take take your position here, this is how people end up with driving their white van and getting caught on Chris Hansen's To Catch a Predator. When you take your exact position here,
You know a lot
this
about
is how
that.
men end up in those positions. So, anyways,
Wait, can you elaborate on that? I'm curious.
in regards to well, this is weak men who don't have.
No,
a
how did
purpose
you
in
get
life,
caught
who
by
don't
Chris
have-
Hansen?
Who
Tell
don't
us.
have an imperative. I could.
No, tell
I
us
was
how you
actually
got
gonna
caught
ask
by
you the
Chris
very-
Hansen.
I
Tell
was
us.
actually gonna.
Jake, would you have a seat here? Yeah, just take a seat at the counter. I just want to talk. Just want to talk to you about some things. Do you recognize these chats?
I'm very
Ask you the
curious to
very same
explain.
thing because I mean
No,
you
you,
look
Wick.
awfully familiar. And
All
I
right,
thought you looked really familiar.
I would be
Anyways.
interested with an elaboration on how it gets from point A to point B. I think Soy was asking for it.
Yeah, I was
if you
asking,
want to
how does
elaborate.
lack of gender roles lead to white vans kidnapping children and
Well, I mean, look, if you deprive men of purpose and if you deprive men of mission and the ability to be able to have a family and to be able to pursue legacy, this is when men get depressed and when men basically fall off the rails. So whenever I see these guys who end up in these really terrible situations like Wick, where he ends up on Chris Hansen's To Catch a Predator, I always think that there's just a distinct lack of purpose there, and that comes from
You
performing
talk a lot
your
about
own
kids,
masculine
man.
duty.
That's weird.
yeah. So
Okay,
I-
let's not
wait,
go
can I
down that
respond?
road.
He just hold on. He just talked about how I was going on Chris Hansen.
I
things.
will say,
If he
I will
can't-
say
if
we're
he
gonna,
can't handle
we're gonna,
this-
You don't have to defend
we're
it.
If he
gonna
right?
can't
count
handle
that
this,
as
he
a
shouldn't
balance
have brought it
between both
up.
of you. Fair across the board. That piece is done in
Okay,
terms of talking
enough.
about men and
Your
children
house, your
in that
rules.
aspect.
Look, my issue is
You
this
can
idea.
Yeah, that's mega TOS violations there. They can't be talking about that. Jeez.
That this is
in-
a
Sorry, you could still inquire, but we're gonna keep the insults of the PDF stuff to a minimum now.
Right. So my issue is, again, you keep burying this argument that we've never made, that, oh, if we don't enforce specific gender roles, then somehow men will lose purpose and they'll all start driving these white vans around. And we're not saying that you can't be in a gender role. We're saying that the influence, again, kind of to bring it back to Cooley, and I actually do acknowledge Cooley, I guess I wasn't really addressing the whole idea of what this influence is doing and where this influence should be. And what we're saying, just to be clear, is that the influence of traditional gender roles is what's causing the harm, and we can do that influence of promoting what you probably would agree is the good behavior, like, hey, men, you need purpose. Hey, men, you need to go out and be productive. Hey, woman, you need to have purpose as well. We're saying we can do this agendered. That's it. We're not saying, oh, you can't tell people that they should, if they want to go in the home, that they shouldn't be able to go be productive. We should deprive them of their purpose. It's just saying, let's make sure everyone has these choices, and what we influence is behaviors that most of society could probably agree is good, right? Hey, everyone should go out and get a job and have some sort of purpose. I think we could all agree, yeah, you shouldn't be sitting inside jerking off playing video games all day and just like deprive yourself of any purpose. This is not necessarily gendered language, and we're just trying to move away from it, because if you keep it gendered, then what you're doing is saying, well, anyone who can't embody this specific role of what I have defined a man or woman to be is somehow less of a human being, and that is going to cause what you're talking about, which is these like depressed, weak men potentially going into bad places, and the same for the woman. And I think, as I stated at the beginning,
All these depressed, weak men. All right, I have the answer. I think I've already said it several times, but I have the answer. Go to trade school for like 1 year and get into it. Get to it. Change your whole life and go to the gym. That's it. 2 things. Change your whole life. Fix everything. Hannah, sorry, we are not born to just serve men's needs. Self-actualization is a human need. True. And reproduction may not be on that list. It may not. It may not. But I don't think reproduction is a gendered role that women solely have. I think that I think that procreation is a teamwork thing that should be promoted in society, but not like it's women's responsibility, because it takes 2 to make children. I think that we should generally promote family creation, finding a loving partner, building, a life, having children, all that kind of good stuff, without making it like it's woman's responsibility to have the children, because it's not. It takes 2 to do that. It takes men and women working together to do that. And I think that's a good thing to promote in society, not to force, but to promote it. And some women can't, first of all. Some men can't procreate. And some people just aren't really geared towards procreation, and that's fine. I think that's fine. I think we can still promote family creation and procreation in society without forcing everyone to feel like they're less of a person if they don't do that.
This gender role and what men embody in it is so outdated that men now are a lot depressed on a whole, because they do what the society expects them to, and it's not paying off for them because it's not enough. We have to promote more behaviors that are traditionally with women.
I don't think that the men that are depressed and sad are engaging in these roles. I think they're mostly just kind of chilling. One second. I think I need to fix something on the chat that I'm viewing, because I just saw. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got top chat going. There we go. Hannah, however, men are freer to pursue. Well, yeah, but we're not talking about like the way things are. We're talking about the way things should be. And the way things should be is that men and women should both be promoted to career and family, both things. Right now, we're just promoting everyone towards career, and that's not really good. We should be promoting both of those things, because you can do both. You can do both. And we can promote all of these virtues to everyone in society without gendering them, which I think you'd agree with me.
And if I may just piggyback off
And
that,
I think that's what, well, I'm sure that that's what Soy Pill and Wick are getting at here. Yeah, exactly. For most people, it is pretty strong. When society gets all freaking persnickety about, being against that or for that, any way that it's trying to like pressure people, then they push back against things that they might even be more inclined to. I think that pressure is different from promotion. When we pressure people, it's like this force that you want to push away from. When you promote people to good virtues, then they're more on board. They're more excited about engaging in those things. And I think we can do all of those things in like a non-gendered way. Soy Pill and Wick are killing it. They're killing it. I don't agree with anyone here on every single thing that they've ever talked about, obviously. But they're doing great.
just very briefly, right?
And they've mostly hit on all of the things that I wanted them to hit on, that I've been like hoping they would hit on. Almost all of them.
This idea that masculinity. One of the things that I have a problem with this conversation is I don't believe that either of you, Jake or Cooley, really know what it is to be a man. I really don't. Let me ask you this question.
Called out.
Do you think that we should be promoting people like Andrew Tate?
Promoting?
I'll
What do you mean by
Answer,
promoting?
easy answer.
You go for it, Gully.
Can
Yeah,
you repeat?
you said promoting people like Andrew Tate.
Yes.
I mean,
Is Andrew
No.
Tate a good
promotes
example of
himself.
masculinity?
Well, like, should the president like
Andrew
invite him
Tate
into the White
is-
House and shake his hand and say, "Hey, you're cool"?
I mean, the president, well, Obama and Biden, they definitely shook a lot of feminist hands. So yeah, for sure, they can shake Andrew Tate's hand.
No, I'm not talking
but
about.
real
I'm
quick-
not talking about.
Whataboutism. Oh, but what about what you did that was bad? That's not the point. It's called whataboutism, guys. And it's a dirty debate tactic to filibuster your way out of a situation.
About shaking hands. Do you think that Andrew Tate is a good example of masculinity?
For sure, there's many examples that he embodies that's good masculinity. I don't believe in the term of toxic masculinity. But real quick,
Bro,
because I see you trying to
traffics
we'll
women
get back.
and rapes them.
Yeah, no, he hasn't been convicted
Allegedly,
of anything. You're a liar.
allegedly.
So real quick, question for you, Soy Pill, because you were speaking about the purpose of men and women. Pretty much you're saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that, well, we shouldn't gender things. That's my whole thing. Your whole thing, the Soy Pill, is we shouldn't gender things. We should say, hey, here's a purpose for everyone. Here's a purpose for these people. But my question for you is, if you don't gender it, then how can someone see themselves in it?
I don't know. Have you never seen a woman do anything that you thought was like commendable in any way?
That was such a dumb question. Oh, if you see everyone doing everything, then you're going to oh my God, guys, my brain got absolutely fried by the sun today, and it just can't think of the simplest words. You're going to jeez, you guys know what I'm saying. If you see someone like you doing a thing, if you see everyone doing a good thing, you're going to see someone that you identify with. There we go. There's the word. Got it. Yes. Fuck you, son. Tried to fry my brain today. Not happening.
Hey, like, can you only ever see commendable behavior in people that look and sound like you? It's kind of an interesting question. I think it's very easy to see someone and say, "Hey, I respect that person regardless of their gender, and I want to embody their behavior."
That's not
Without
what yeah, that's not
well,
what I'm
well, you said, how do
saying.
people see themselves in it, right? Like if I say, "Hey, people should go have purpose in life. You should work hard. You should be fastidious, and you should bring home bacon."
Oh, Hannah, you missed the explanation for why my brain is specifically fried today, but I do HVAC and I was out in the sun all day and I got big time burned. Big time burned. It was rough.
And whether or not I show you an example of a woman or a man doing that, I think is completely irrelevant to whether or not I've
Okay,
done a good job
quick
of promoting
example.
that.
Soy pill.
Yeah.
If I say, listen, your mom tells you, hey, soy pill, I want you to go to the store
Shut
and
up,
get
Mom.
some.
Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, great. She says, hey, I want you to go to the store and get some food. But she doesn't tell you specifically what to get.
Okay.
And you bring back the wrong stuff.
This is
Right?
a weird
No,
analogy.
stop
I
it.
understand
Listen,
the problem
stop it.
here.
Yeah, you
but
know,
like,
it is a problem here. Let me finish it. She tells you, hey, soy pill, go to the store and get me some food.
get some stuff.
You go to
yeah.
the store and bring back some food. She said, this is the wrong food. Well, you didn't tell me what type of food you want me to get. So then you
Right.
go back to the store. It takes you about 10 tries to go to the store. Then you finally bring back the right stuff. But if your mom would have said, bring back the chicken because we need that for the protein. Bring back some blueberries because you need that for your brain to operate good. She tells you specifically what type of foods to bring back so she can cook and they can nourish your body.
And did
right?
you notice like none of those
So-
instructions, no matter how specific they were, had to do with whether or not I had a penis or a vagina, and then you could
No,
just tell me?
stop it.
What is he talking about? Oh God. All right. This is great.
If I tell you, right, if I'm speaking to someone, and the analogy I'm making is this: hey, you should be men. You should be protectors. You should be providers. You should have emotional control. You should love your wife. You
Think
should.
women shouldn't have these things? I'm curious. Do you think that women shouldn't have these things?
Yeah, should women have more emotional control? I think they should.
True.
I didn't
Again,
even
every
finish. You
good
guys
thing
cut
that-
me off.
Well, it's
I
because
didn't- I
every good
didn't
thing
even-
you're
I-
about to
I
say,
didn't
regardless
even
of what it
finish.
is, I think can be
I'll
applied to
go
both
ahead
things
and
unless you're
allow
talking about
Yeah,
biological
David,
imperative.
Yeah, I
David,
didn't
go
even
ahead and
finish.
finish.
Yeah.
Go
So I
ahead
know
and
that you
finish.
look at these things as being gender neutral roles, right? But they're not exactly gender
They're not even gender neutral roles. They're virtues that are good for any person to embody. That's what we're saying.
neutral roles. So, like I said before in my opening, men have a natural propensity and women have a natural propensity to be attracted and repulsed by certain things in the opposite sex. Attraction isn't symmetrical, it's asymmetrical. So like you're attracted to certain characteristic traits in a woman and she's not attracted to those same characteristic traits in you. That's just life. Magnets attract, opposites attract, right? So what I'm saying is there's certain things that men need to embody as a man, and he needs to be told specifically by his father, you should embody these. So then he can go out
I'm nodding to Godspeed's comment, not whatever Cooley's going on about.
there and embody them and find them. If you just don't tell him anything, it's like the analogy I'm saying he's just going to the grocery store and getting the wrong food, embodying the wrong behaviors, maybe embodying all these feminine type of characteristics.
My mom does not give me the grocery store list, and I have no problem going to the grocery store. What is he even on about? Like, does he have trouble going to the grocery store? Is this like a self-report? Like, is he really saying, somebody help me? I can't figure out what to do at the grocery store. Somebody please help me. Like, I don't get what are you talking about?
Traits which women are not attracted to. So then this man grows up and he's involuntary celibate. He can't mate with a chick because he got all these feminine characteristics.
Boys, if you're out there and you're an incel, I can help you. Reach out. Reach out on Twitter. Send me a message on Twitter. Or X or whatever it's called. And or come into chat, ask me for advice. I can help you. You don't have to be an incel. I can help you out. Okay.
Traits because he didn't have a father there to tell him, hey, I need you to identify with this. You need to embody this. So we need to gender things so people can see themselves in it.
Okay, I see
That's
kind
my
of what
point.
you're saying. I have a lot of
Oh.
qualms with it. Like, first of all,
I don't. Well,
obviously,
please help me because I'm
you don't?
lost, man. Maybe
Well,
give
so
me
what
an
he's
I'm
trying
answer.
sure
to
you
say is,
don't,
look,
Wick
there's a
TV.
biological imperative of attraction, and in general, because there are traditionally masculine things that women are. Tell me if I'm wrong, but
Wicked, if you hang out until this is over, we can talk about it, all right? And I bet I can help you out.
the way, coolly, because there are things that are traditionally embodied by men, and most women find these things.
That's a good start, Godspeed. They start at the gym. Eating healthy is also a huge thing. Going to the gym and not eating healthy is not an ideal combination. Those two things are like number one. First two things you should do.
Attractive.
And get some sleep. You got to get some sleep. Yeah. Yeah, when we're doing anytime next stream isn't going to be like one whole debate the entire time, so we can do a little more chatter stuff.
Therefore, we should promote that behavior, because if not, you're going to have a society of people who will never be able to find a mate. Everyone's going to be despondent, and nothing will ever.
Sure, I
progress
think
from
that
there. Is that kind of
promoting
what you're saying,
Andrew
Cooley?
Tate as masculine is going to drive birth rates off a cliff. It's just gonna, like, no one should listen to either of these
Wick, he
clowns
wasn't
ever
talking
again.
to you, man. Y'all
They're
on the
just
same
crazy.
team. He was asking me a question.
I thought this was going to be an interesting
Uh-oh. Wick's crashing out.
discussion, but it turns out that you guys are promoting Andrew Tate, and I'm like, okay, well, you don't understand what masculinity is on the basic
Bro, what
level.
do you promote? Barney? Let me ask you, what do you promote? Barney?
Barney? What I promote
I've never heard Wick promote Barney.
Yeah,
is
you look
freedom
like
of
you
choice.
promote
What I
Barney.
promote is love of country,
I-
patriotism. What I promote, sir, is actual masculinity, right? So maybe sit
Ooh,
down
let's-
and learn
let's-
from a
okay,
man.
let
I'm
me ask
sorry
you a
that your
question,
dad didn't
Wick
I'd
teach
like
you
to
these
take
things.
it back to Soy because
Oh,
I
boy.
don't think you were
What's Matt?
finished
Real quick,
talking.
please,
Hold
please,
on,
I want to
hold
just
on,
ask him.
because Soy was interrupted, and then the two of you can do all of this.
But he was
after.
interrupted by his own teammate.
I
So
understand.
let me
but
answer
I
his teammate.
still-
Let me reply back.
Wait,
to
I
what
don't
his
want to be
teammate
cucked. I
said.
want to
David.
interrupt my interruption. All right, can I do that?
Yeah, go ahead,
Can I keep
Soy.
talking?
David,
Yeah,
please
okay,
allow
so-
Soy to finish his thought.
So this idea that, well, men need to be this very specific masculine role because as a society, like, most women are attracted to this thing, and this things like otherwise things won't progress. Is that kind of what was I accurate in determining that was kind of what your argument was, that if we don't embody these things, society as a whole collapses because of the natural things that women are attracted to?
I'm not saying as a whole. What I'm saying is there's always exceptions to every rule, right? So even if people
For majority, right?
For
Like,
majority, yes. So
right.
even if we push a whole lot of propaganda, the crazy thing is biology and nature always wins. You can try to nurture society and to do some nonsense to go against their biological proclivities. You can try to nurture that, but nature in due time will win.
so then
right?
why are you worried about promoting anything if nature's going to win, right?
Well, guess what?
Yeah, actually, don't take my advice. Take Hannah's advice because she's an actual woman. Okay.
That could take some years from now. I want
But you can take my advice too. I do pretty well.
my children. Do you guys have kids? Probably don't have kids. Probably never planted your seed in anything. And then you got Wick over here talking about you're not
just
even
very
a man.
careful
You're
about
not
my
even
seed.
masculine. I got multiple kids, been planting my seed all the time.
Yeah.
So anyways,
do you think that makes you a
what I'm-
man?
Oh my God.
okay.
It's a
Well,
simple
okay,
question.
can I ask? Can I ask?
Do you
Wick
think that
TV?
makes you a man
What
to
makes
just
you a man,
impregnate
Wick
random
TV?
women?
Who said random? What makes you a man, Wick TV? How
What
do you
makes
know
you a
you're a
man?
man?
So
Yeah,
what
no, how
I
do you
think
know that
being
you're a man?
So if
right?
am I a man if I
If I-
impregnate your partner?
How do you know that you're a man?
I think one of the and I do appreciate this question in all honesty, because I think
For
we
sure,
do
yeah.
need to talk about what masculinity actually is, right? I think masculinity is self-control, responsibility, right? And that's what I think that a lot of forgive me for saying this, but your side lacks, is responsibility. Taking responsibility for one's own place in the world. It's not the evil woke or the evil feminism that is causing you
Wi-Fi, we just talked about this. We're trying to chill on our rosters, okay? We're trying to cool it a little bit, try to take things a little more seriously, you know? All right? You can have there's all kinds of ways you can have a roster. There's not a ton of ways you can have like a healthy long-term relationship though. All right. That's our goal for Wicked, okay? We're not trying to get Wicked a roster. I also read Rooster at first too.
Problems. It's your choices, right? Take some responsibility, man up, pull yourself up by the boot.
Based Wi-Fi. That's what we like to see. I love it. Congratulations, by the way. Love that shit. Good for you, man.
Straps, and recognize that you will have to adjust to the world around you, right? You will have to adjust to how the world works and operate within there. I think men should be protectors and providers, but so should women in their spheres as well. I think that these are good traits that I want both my daughters to learn and my sons, my nieces and my nephews, my women friends and my male friends. I want them all to embody these traits because I think it's important. When I think of manhood, I think that the biggest word that comes to mind is responsibility. And that's what I think that we need to be teaching, not gender roles or anything like that. It's, hey, be a responsible person, a responsible adult. Take responsibility for your actions. Take responsibility for your choices. And if things are, if you're struggling, figure out why and fix it.
Hey, Wick, I actually agree with you, but I do think that you need to stop being responsible to all them Twinkies and hit the gym because, like, you saying something, but you're not practicing what you're saying. We can see it. We can see.
Yeah, all right. All right. We're going to talk about the gym thing a little because he just brought it up again. Going to the gym is not about getting jacked. If that's what, like, when you start going to the gym, that might become fun for you and you might really get into that, and that's awesome. That's cool too. But going to the gym is just about feeling better and being able to be the best version of yourself. It's like you don't have to look like Soy Pill or Cooley when you leave the gym. Even just going and eating healthy just makes you feel better, even if you're not seeing like those massive results, Like, I don't go to the gym to look like Soy Pill. Like, that's like, he's like almost at like bodybuilder status. But I go to the gym just to be able to feel good about my body and myself and have, a good enough physical capability that I'm not like, I don't get tired when I'm at work. I don't get I just feel good about myself and eating healthy. All these things go together. Drinking lots of water. I saw that in chat earlier. All these things are super good, even if you don't end up looking like a freaking superhero after. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can be very strong without being jacked, but you don't even have to be very strong. You just want to you want to feel capable, one of the best ways to get strong is work a trade. It's that like worker strength is a great way to get strong without like going to the gym and working specific muscles to get like jacked specifically, but you should still go to the gym. It's a good healthy habit to get into, even if you only go a couple times a week. But this is such a rough shot at Wick because like, and it's so pointless. Like, you don't have to be like a freaking Superman. Anatoly is the freaking GOAT, bro. I love that guy. That guy is amazing.
See that you are not practicing what you're saying.
Critique my physique next. Okay, I guess not. Cooley, could you point me to something that be what you would consider a promotion of a masculine trait that is exclusive or not exclusive, or that is not exclusive to the current time period we live in? So something you're like, oh, well, women are attracted to XYZ thing. I think if you look at a lot of the things that society today expects of men, I mean, now everyone's got like broccoli hair and skinny jeans. You probably wouldn't find that particularly masculine, but a lot of women are into that stuff. A lot of women are into these like girly men K-pop things. And you look across like all of these societies, all of these different times in history, and
the broccoli hair thing is weird. I don't understand that.
a lot of this, like, what is masculine has changed all the time. I think the only like really through line is that men biologically are the ones who are going to give the sperm, and women biologically are the ones who are going to receive the seed. And while you might have those biological influences kind of pushing people in different directions, gender wise, of like, oh, you know, in the BC times we had hunter gatherers because women weren't as strong. I think today, and you kind of mentioned this in your opening, today we do have all this technology. Today we do live in a modern society, and today we don't need those gender roles the same way we used to. That's kind of our whole point. So could you point to like a specific thing like that men need to embody that otherwise women won't like them?
Yeah, I think that there's a bunch of them. And if you're going to be a broccoli head soy boy or whatever, then you're just not going to do very well with women. And oftentimes when you look at this whole K-pop phenomenon,
I mean, that's just not true, man.
the one thing that they all have in common is that these K-pop guys have a very high social status. So that is what the women are looking at in those regards. If you get some random broke broccoli-haired soy boy with skinny jeans, he's just not going to do well with women, and that's just not borne out by reality. But if he's a part of a boy band that's performing in front of 100,000 people, then yeah, women look at social status. And the reason why they look at social status is because those men are able to provide, and those men are guys.
I know he's wrong. Don't worry. We know.
Who other people look up to, and women are inherently attracted to that feature, and those men have
I think
influence, and
everyone
women are
is
very
too.
attracted to men who have influence. So to say that that there is no real sort of like through line or commonality between what women are attracted to in regards to masculinity, that's just bullshit.
See,
Women
this is how
are
I know that
I can
good
testify.
representation
Women
I
of
could
the
testify
band
if I
thing
may
is
just
hold on a
real
second.
quick.
Women are attracted to good physiques with men. Women are not attracted to guys who look like Teletubbies, okay? Women are attracted to men who have earning potential. They're attracted to high status males. They're attracted to men who have some sort of a social standing.
Why do
And this
poor
is
people have
a
more?
You know what else they're attracted to? Men that make them laugh. Men that bring some kind of value to their life, even if it's not financial or physical strength. Like, I'm sorry, Jake. This is just, there are so many ways that you can become attractive to women. It's, and some of them have nothing to do with, oh yeah, he's devolving into the, he went into a fugue state, and now he thinks he's on the whatever podcast again.
commonality.
Look, and this is to the audience. If you
They don't
want
have as much
women,
birth control.
you don't have to be a K-pop star, but being good at music, and I can testify to this, really helps. Just have a skill, right?
Well,
If
save
you're
some
good
pussy
at
for the rest of
guitar,
us, Wick.
if you're good at drums, right? Don't worry, right?
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be music. If you're just like passionate about something and you can make people laugh and you're fun to be around. And if you just like, if you exude like that you feel good about yourself, like all of those things are attractive to women. Women. Am I saying it right? Women. Mer.
You'll get yours. I'll save a few for you, okay? But look, there will all be of age though, so just letting you know.
Hey,
about that.
Soy Pill.
But
I don't know, you
really,
have to clarify
real
that
quick,
one.
really,
Question
real
to
quick,
your
real quick.
partner?
But like this idea that you need
wanna
like
hear his
status
answer.
and things like that. Status is absolutely something that people are attracted to. But that's not just something only women are attracted to. Men are attracted to status as well. And again, like this idea that you have to be rich and things like that. All these help, but have a skill, have a talent. It really helps. Trust me.
What was the question?
Well, trust
Hey
you,
Wick. Hey Wick. So
What's
the
up, brother?
same question that the Soy Pill asked us. What would you do to attract a woman? You said music. Other than music, what would you do to
Other
attract
than
a
music,
chick?
well, it depends on
Yeah.
the woman, right? I'd find out
How
what
do you
they
get
find
chicks?
attractive, and then I'd do that.
Generally speaking, how
Ritual
do you
mating
get?
dance is typically involved at some point.
Yeah, exactly,
Wick,
right? Like
generally
if you're good at
speaking, how do you get chicks?
unironically, learn to dance. You go to you learn some swing dancing, things like that. You go to a ballroom dancing place. Man, oh man, women love dancing.
So women
real
love
quick, can I
dancing
point
and
out the
music,
absurdity
Wick?
of all this? Because like what
Women
we're all
love
talking
dancing and
about
what?
is like.
Do you not think they
Okay,
do?
I'm not. No.
If a
oh my
man
God,
can
yes, of
dance, do you
course.
not think
Some
women find that
like dancing,
attractive?
but
They
the point is we're
absolutely
talking
do.
in these
No, I want to
generalities
hear
that
Wick
are-
keep
No,
on
I
spitting
wanna hear
game.
Wick.
Wick.
Yeah, Wick.
Spit game. Tell us.
Look, you
Give us
can
the
Wick,
formula.
how
subscribe.
you
You can
approach a
subscribe to
woman,
my
Wick?
podcast. You know, you ain't getting the milk for free.
Wick has
brother.
status, okay? He's got this
That's
big
side-eye.
You ain't
podcast
getting
with
the
all these
milk
big
for free.
people on.
You got to pay me
It's
if
the
you want me
side-eye.
to help you out, and I can help you out. I understand both of you struggle.
You guys do not have to pay me if you want me to help you out. I'll just help you out. Okay. Wick's a higher status YouTuber than me, though. So
But you can help. I can
No,
help you out.
Wick,
Don't worry
I
about it.
don't think that any woman on this planet would choose to lay down with you and allow her to pregnate you.
I mean,
allow
you
her
don't
to-
think in general, so
I
that's
don't
okay.
think that. I
Okay.
truly don't
Refute
think
him.
that. I think that you
Leak your
you
news.
don't have the ability. So if you think about it, since the beginning of time, about 90% of women procreated, about 40% of men procreated. So there
I'm in a whole different world where the two-step means I'm about to fight somebody in a mosh pit, which also works, by the way.
was a lot of men that didn't procreate at all. Wick, I think that you're going to be one of them.
Well, you can think that. But
I
you'd be
truly think it.
wrong.
Please let me know, what would you do and what would you say to court a woman? Because we're speaking
Well,
about
We
gender
had a
roles.
whole
wait,
conversation
wait,
about
wait,
that,
wait,
brother.
wait,
And you
wait,
said-
wait.
He literally just explained this. he just,
You
Wait,
can
please,
check.
please,
gentlemen,
can
So
I,
look,
can I
if you
clarify
see a
that
woman,
wasn't my
real quick,
question?
real quick,
Okay,
real quick.
I'm gonna
was-
let this play out for just a couple more minutes
Okay,
on
a question?
dancing and spitting game, and then we can
Tell
get
you
back
what,
to the
God,
Cooley,
okay,
you
question.
pretend-
So Wick, no, Wick, stop. Wick, stop.
Yeah, Wick,
Question
would you
to you.
approach them
Here's
in the
my
gym?
here's my question.
Okay, ask your
I'm gonna
question.
give you the scenario
You're
and
gonna
tell
pretend to
me
be the woman.
what would you do. No, I'm gonna give you a
Ooh.
scenario and tell me what will you do to get the woman's number, and then get the first date. So you meet the woman at I'm gonna make it simple for you. Starbucks. What are you saying to this chick to bag her number and then to take her out on a date? Because we need to make sure you procreate. Matter of fact, I don't even let me stop. No, I'm gonna say it. I don't even think people like you should procreate, but I'm gonna still try to help you out to procreate. So go ahead. Let me know how you're gonna get a chick.
Well, I'm. Thank you for thinking about my procreation. That's a little weird, man, but okay.
No,
if
it's
that's
not
what you
weird. We're
want to
talking
do,
about
right?
gender
Yeah,
roles.
okay, fair enough.
Before,
But look,
look.
This is the problem with these questions, right? Like, you have to be in the moment. You have to actually be talking to a woman. And forgive me, but I have trouble looking at you and then trying to spit game because I'm just not attracted to you, brother. I'm sorry.
No, you being
I'm
weird now, bro.
sorry.
This is how
You're
I
the one
know
that made
you
this weird.
do not
You
know
just sat
what
there
you're
and you said,
you're
"Oh, I
being-
want you to give me your top tips on picking up women at Starbucks." That's
Oh,
weird.
man.
That's weird.
But the ironic thing is here, we're speaking about gender roles, and before a nation starts, a relationship needs to start. So yeah, we can speak about it from the individual level of gender roles, and we can speak about it on the societal level of gender roles, right? So this is important in this debate. I need to know, and I'm sure the chat wants to know too. If you are so hyped up on we should abolish gender roles, tell me how you would pick
I
up a
don't
chick.
think we
Do
should
you even have the
abolish
ability
gender
to get
roles.
a
I don't
girl?
think that the government or society should
Raging
promote
Tomato
them.
has officially turned into a speed dating show. I will have 7 lovely ladies prepped backstage.
We
for
can do that.
Red-
Hold on.
Red
Actually,
is
Cooley,
game.
if at some
so many
point you
people.
want, we can make a contest of this. We'll make a game. We'll monetize this shit, okay?
Ooh.
We can bring some women on, have a dating
must
show, and
hate
see
your
who they
money.
choose.
Oh no.
You must
You
hate
got
your
Money where your
bro.
mouth is, brother.
no.
Come on.
Yeah,
You
I'll
think you can
definitely
pick
put a
up more
lot of
women than
money
me?
on that.
Let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
make it a show sometime. Come on, Cooley. You scared?
Okay, can I go back to the question I asked Cooley, which I promise you was not how do you pick up chicks? It was what was the traditional masculine role that you should tell someone to embody in order for society to progress that is somehow exclusive to this time, or that is not exclusive to this time, that has kind of been a perpetual thing throughout all of history.
Yeah, I mean, Jake answered it, but yeah, you should tell a man to embody certain characteristic traits, like to be decisive. That's a masculine trait. Women are indecisive; they don't know what they want to eat, so a man should be decisive. You should also tell a man to be dominant to an extent. You should tell him to have integrity.
But can I ask
you
a
should-
question? Because I want to go.
all the things he's listing are very specific to every individual's relationship. Like, some women like to pick the restaurant. They know exactly what they want. I dated this one girl. She knew exactly what restaurant she wanted to go to every time. There was no question or hesitation in her voice. Like all of these things are going to be specific to the relationship, and you got to, yeah, he did. Um, and you have to, like, when you're in a relationship with someone or you're dating someone, that's the time when you figure out who should lead in what things, and who's stronger in which things, and it's going to be different among every couple, and even for you depending on who you're with. Like all of these like broad sweeping prescriptions are just, they're just not real. They're just not real.
If somebody's one at a time, like, do you
All
think
right,
in the
cool. Let's
cavemen days
go one
they
at a
were like,
time.
hey,
Then
do you
sure.
want saber-tooth or mammoth, and like the woman couldn't decide, or do you think they just kind of got what they needed because it was like a biological imperative to survive and eat? Like, do you think that those roles existed back then? The idea that they should be decisive.
Decisiveness. That
Oh, your
idea.
example is women
definitely-
can't decide what
No.
to eat, and that's why they're naturally like
No,
indecisive.
that
or something?
decisiveness is a huge thing that back in the saber.
You're right, Wicked. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. To the lovely lady Hannah in the chat. I'm sorry I used the term broad. I was not meaning to describe women in that way. Thank you, Wicked.
Saber-tooth tiger days
Yeah.
and caveman days, they needed to had.
You think
need to
women
be
shouldn't be
decisive.
encouraged to be decisive?
I'm not saying that women shouldn't be encouraged to be decisive. Women are naturally not decisive. That's the difference. You get what I'm saying? Men
Do you
are more
do the gender roles,
decisive
or it's
than
like
women.
biological?
Say that again.
Do you think women are indecisive because of gender roles, or do you think it's like purely biological? If we didn't have any societal,
No, if we're
influence, we'd be
comparing
more
the two.
indecisive?
Yeah, if we're
Well, I wasn't even using the word broad in that way. Wicked is just memeing on me.
comparing the two, and I think that men should strive to be in a leadership position. So a leader should be decisive. A leader should be able to make a decision, a quick decision too, sometimes at the snap of a finger, depending on
again,
if danger happens and
I
stuff
think
like
women
that.
should do this
So
too,
if
right?
you're going back to saber-tooth tiger days, caveman days, yeah, the man would need to be decisive to make a quick decision to save his children and his family. Yes.
And do you think women shouldn't be decisive of when to run and when to hide when the saber-tooth tiger is attacking them? This is, again, every single
They
good thing you're
should be.
saying, women should be
should
as well,
but
right?
guess
Like,
what?
which of these
But
things
guess
are
what?
exclusively men?
No,
That's what I
Nobody's
asked. For. Is
saying-
it
nobody's
exclusively male
speaking in
traits?
monoliths,
I was
though. This is the
listening
problem,
them.
Soy.
Yeah, you're
No
looking.
one's speaking in monoliths.
I'm fairly certain Cooley's religious based on, I've only seen a couple clips of him talk, but I'm pretty sure he's religious. Yeah. I'm pretty sure him and Jake at least put forth some sort of persona of being religious.
Like you're trying to
Well,
act
then
like
we
it's
agree,
just
because
that
I
men
think
just
as
purely
a monolith, we
100%.
should
One at a
know that
time,
every
Hold on a
man or
second.
woman would do that.
You've been speaking in monoliths,
Gentlemen.
and you've been he's been speaking in monoliths, and he's been saying that,
Yes.
well, this is just something that is just completely. We're not saying that it's completely exclusive, but what we're saying is that outliers don't make the rule. We've actually made that distinction many times during this debate. So when you're talking about this, you yourself admitted before that women are weaker and less effective than men. So if women
certain
are
roles,
by
yeah.
and large weaker and less effective than men, then that burden
Yeah, anything active, anything physically active that gets you moving, gets you feeling good about yourself. Those are all good things.
is generally speaking going to fall upon the man,
What
and it should
burden?
be good that men are able to actually take that burden and are
What
actually
burden?
able to run with it, and the burden of being able to protect your family. So if there is an intruder, the man should be able to go and
Yeah,
sort out
how
the
often do
intruder.
you think
Just
that
like back in
protecting
the
your
day,
family
if
is
there was a
happening for, like,
saber-toothed
people in
tiger,
America?
if there was a
Let him
saber-toothed
finish.
tiger, bro's going to pick up his spear and he's going to try and fight the saber-toothed tiger while the woman runs away if she has to. This is just a commonality throughout history. Men have to harness that ability. Sure, if there isn't a man around and the woman is just there with the children, like the home invader situation, then sure, the woman will be responsible for protecting the children. But in an ideal sense, we don't want that situation. We want
Yeah,
the man
ideally, like
to
we
be the
said, we want the
protector, and
best
so do
person
you. So I don't
doing
really
the
get
thing
your
that they're
argument.
the best at, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we can say that everyone should protect their children. And hey, if you're the strongest
my
person in
days.
the room, then you should be the one doing it. And when you say I'm the
Oh.
one speaking of monoliths, this entire time, you guys
Yeah, how dare they accuse them of speaking in monoliths when it's like it's completely the opposite.
been saying women like this, men like this, and it's like that's the monolith, right? I'm saying
No,
that
we're
there are
speaking
exceptions, and
we're speaking in generalities. You're the one
Yes,
who's
you
trying
are
to
speaking in
speaking in
generalities.
generalities. And I'm
to
saying
a
that
monolith.
generally you don't have to say all of these things are prescriptive to all of these people, and that people should have the freedom to choose what they want, and we don't need to promote them and say, hey, if you don't do this specific thing, you're a bad man. If a guy, I think if both of you would agree, right? If a guy doesn't protect his family, he's like a bad person, right? He's a coward. He's just not a good person, right? And if a woman did the same thing, she's probably also a coward, right? Now, you can say he has more of a responsibility because he would, with great power.
Yes, the Christian value of men deciding where we eat. Why wasn't Andrew here? I have no idea. It's only 4 spots on the panel. I don't know.
Power, right? He would be better at it. But we're saying that you shouldn't promote specifically, hey, only men should do this and only women should do this. That's all I'm saying. And if you agree, if you agree it's not a monolith, then we actually agree in this debate.
It's just a contradiction because you have yourself said that men are more effective, and if men are more effective, and if that burden is generally speaking going to fall upon the man, and you yourself just said that they're cowards and they're pussies if they don't do it, which is true, then we should be encouraging men to be able to shoulder that burden and do it the most effective way possible. So if that situation does arise, then the man can handle that situation. So yes, we should be encouraging men to be able to handle that situation. We're not speaking
and women.
Speaking in a monolith, we're speaking in a generality. We understand that Game of Thrones lady does exist out there. There's probably some big old Russian woman who's...
I have no issue with Christians' Wi-Fi. Just... most of my family is Christian. It's more... their specific worldview is informed by like a strict adherence to certain things in Christianity, and they want to push that onto everyone else, and that's where things get a little hairy.
7 foot tall, and she married a hobbit because that just is what she's into, and she's trained with firearms and she's trained with swords, and she's an absolute killer, and her husband's not. That probably exists in the far reaches of Russia somewhere. I understand, but generally speaking, the societal burden falls upon men, and you see this with the death rate in war. This is played out in material reality.
Why do you keep bringing up war when it's such a small minority of men? This isn't a man role.
Because it's the most pertinent example of what we're talking about. It's the fact that men actually do shoulder that burden, and they always have throughout history. So you can try.
Hold on. Let Jake finish, Soy, and then,
I would appreciate
and then you
that.
can
Thank you.
respond.
He's doing his little show
Yeah.
here.
We do need to land the plane. We do need to land the
Soypill,
plane.
you have prattled so many times throughout this debate where we've just let you go on for minutes and minutes, and you've
and if
switched
you
from topic
listened,
to
you
topic
wouldn't
to
have to
topic.
keep replying to it.
So,
You could
Everyone has diatribed about the same amount. I feel like everyone's spoken pretty evenly in this debate. I'd have to go back and like time everybody, but that's not really a fair assertion.
Soy, relax. So yeah, what we're saying here is that it's actually just rather simple. What we're talking about is borne out in material reality. We see this every single day because there are wars happening around the world where men are dying, and it is men who...
War falls upon an extremely small subcategory of men. It is not a men thing. It is a physically elite men with a very specific mindset thing. Land the ping. Yeah, land the ping pong ball, Jake.
who are being conscripted. We see this throughout history. There has never been an entire army of women. Men have always fought the battles. We have always been burdened by this, and we understand that if our country was to go to war tomorrow, you guys would probably also have to face conscription, just as they did in Vietnam. If there was a big war tomorrow, you guys would have your name in the ballot, and it wouldn't be women, it would be men. So men have to shoulder that as a collective, and this is borne out in reality. And we're not talking in monoliths; we're speaking in generalities.
Can I speak? Okay, so look, would you say that being a Navy SEAL is like a male gender role?
Yes.
Why?
How many Navy SEALs are women?
As far as I know, 0. There might be like some small
Exactly.
exception.
Okay,
I
so
don't
there
think a
you
single
go,
one.
soy
So
pill.
yeah, when 7 times 10 to the negative 4% of men are Navy SEALs, this is somehow a gender role for the whole gender.
Yeah, this is not a gender role. This is a very specific role for a very specific type of person. Very specific. Not men.
Or is it, hey, exclusively men can be this very specific subset of this special agency, but most men don't do this. Just like most men don't join the military, most men don't fight in wars. Men do fight in wars, and in some places they exclusively fight. But this idea that this is a male gender role is just ridiculous, because either you don't understand what I'm saying when I say gender role, or you have some conception that every male has to go join the military, which is not the case. Like, yeah, conscription exists, but they're not conscripting, 170 million men. This is so stupid. Like, obviously this is not a male gender role. Most men don't fight. Most men aren't in the Navy SEALs. A male gender role is, hey, what does society expect a man to do? And it's not join the Navy SEALs.
And let's talk about reality for a minute, because if we talk about reality,
hold on a second. I have to respond to that. I have to respond to that. You could not have brought up a worse point. There are precisely 0 female Navy SEALs out there. And you know why that is? Is because biologically they cannot pass the test. That is something.
Can you pass the test?
And you know what, Hannah? We're happy to do them. And you don't owe us anything for doing them.
Exclusive to males.
Can you pass the
it's
test,
something
Jake?
that is exclusive
I'd like to turn
to
it back
males.
to. I'd like to
doesn't
turn it
matter.
back
It's just
to.
a non-argument.
It's almost like you're not less of a man for not being able to be a Navy SEAL, and like that, calling that a gender role is a complete obfuscation of what a gender role is. And just because.
Thank you. Yo, Soy is killing it. Soy's killing it tonight. Absolutely killing it. Wick's killing it too. Wick's been hilarious.
Because something is an exclusively male thing does not mean that it is a gender role. It means that only men can meet the criteria, because it's a merit-based society and it's a merit-based
It's hard to
criteria for
believe
being
how much
physical.
you actually contradict yourself in one statement.
Do you not
It's
understand? Okay,
ridiculous.
what do you think a gender role is?
No, I'd like to turn it
Holy
to
No,
Wick.
please.
He
This
was
is like
waiting.
the crux of the debate. He clearly doesn't understand my
like to turn it to
definition.
Wick,
Maybe
too.
that's on me, but he thinks
Wick,
that a
did you
gender
have
role is something
something
that
to add?
2,000 people do. So what the fuck is he
Go,
talking about?
hold on. Go ahead, Wick. Add in, and then we can let you.
I understand, but like, let's talk about reality for a minute, right? Because I don't think your side is engaging with reality and the reality that I see play out every day, right? When we talk about like which has the burden to protect the home, I think that men have a duty to and responsibility to protect their family, but women also have a duty and responsibility to protect their family. And I think that if you're being invaded, right, if your home is under attack, then I think that the most successful households are the ones that work together, hand in hand, men and women working together to fight off the intruder, more than just a single man saying, women, go hide in the closet while I do my man stuff, because obviously 2 is better than 1 in this case. Like, look, when we talk about reality, we got to utilize all of our talents, all of our abilities, all of our individual traits to help the whole. And I think that, again, focusing on these gender roles and trying to strictly enforce them or heavily influence the society to push people into these roles, again, as I said at the beginning, stymies our ability to be productive. It makes us worse off. And we could see this in reality because the countries that have moved away from the more strict adherence to gender roles have outperformed by leaps and bounds the countries that have gone more strictly into the patriarchies and things like that. When you look at like the Middle East, for example, as most of those countries, right, have gone in very strict adherence to gender roles, and they're doing far, far worse than the more Western egalitarian countries. So when we look at what works, let's deal with reality here, okay? What reality has told us over and over and again in the last 50 years is that the Western world is winning. Egalitarianism is winning. Your ideology or whatever it is that you preach is simply ineffective.
Look, Wick, I think that one thing that we can definitely ascertain from that is that what Cooley said before about you not being able to reproduce.
Of course,
is
they can't
becoming
respond
more
to a
and more
single
evident.
thing I want.
It's
These
becoming more and more
people
evident
who
day.
don't know
This
what
is
the
actually-
fuck
this is
they're
actually very
talking
important.
about,
This is very important.
they don't respond to a thing I say because they know that they're
Gentlemen.
wrong. They know that they're
Wick,
Pardon
they
me,
may-
gentlemen. I'm
Oh,
going to
boy.
eat up the screen now. If you don't play well with each other, then I just take my ball and go home. Okay, Jake, please
so-
finish. Cooley, I believe you had a thought to add in, and then we'll get
Yeah.
back to you, Wick. Okay.
Yeah. Cooley, you're jumping straight after this, but I was just going to say that, Wick, if you go salsa dancing and you put like
It's getting spicy in here. We've devolved into ad hominem. We're devolving into ad hominem at a more frequent and regular pace at this point.
A nice colorful shirt on, you and your girl out salsa dancing, and you get home, and then there's an intruder in the home, and if you say, okay, baby, let's share this role. All right, I want you to take. You see how lonely your seed becomes, okay? You see how lonely that seed of yours becomes, Wick, because women. Yes, you put the woman in the closet, my friend. You don't get the woman on the front lines. You put the woman in the closet. If there's a fight that breaks out in the street, she goes behind you. She should instinctively know to get away from the conflict as soon as possible and get far
I don't know
away.
why you're dating
Have
all
you
these
ever seen those
bitch-made
videos?
weak
I
women
don't know
who
if you guys
can't
have ever
fight
seen
back.
those videos
Let him
where there's a
talk
fight
through.
happening in the middle of the street and the guy is having the fight and the chick tries to get involved in the fight and she's like grabbing him and then the guy gets knocked out because his chick was distracting him. That's you, Wick. That's you.
Damn.
Lonely seed, and you're gonna
Don't
end
you
up
watch
KO'd.
these videos, Wick?
So Wick, I got a question for you, Wick.
Can I
got a question
respond
for
to
you,
that before he asks the question?
Hold on.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
Is that okay? It's your
Yeah,
house.
If,
Say
if he
something
allows
good,
it,
Wick.
yes. If
Okay,
he
fair
allows
enough.
it, yes.
Then I'll say this, right? This idea, right, that yes, if women help poorly, then it goes poorly. Absolutely. But I like women. What I'm attracted to is competence, okay? I like women who challenge me. I like women who are able to help me be the best person I can be. And I know you guys are laughing at this because you
No, it's
are
not.
able
Someone
to
super chatted they'd smash you, so clearly they've been proven wrong. Super chat spoke with their money. So
a mash wick. I don't know what a mash is, but
I think
that's
they
weird.
meant to write an S.
I'm sure that they
instead of an
did,
A.
but spelling like thinking like anything really is
rejected by
not
Wick.
exactly
He wants competent spellers. Get the fuck out,
purview.
chatter.
But when it comes to yes, exactly. If you're gonna actually insult me, make it funny at least. Make it interesting, right? And then I'll respect you. But this idea that like women have no place and should hide, right? Look, if they are bad at helping, then fair enough. But I want a woman who would help me defend my home. I want a woman who would help me defend my family. Because if a woman doesn't care enough about their home to help defend it, then that's not a woman I want in my life.
You know, Wick,
Hell
I
yeah.
agree with you. That's one thing we have something in common here, chat. I want y'all to know, me and Wick got this in common. I think that he actually does want and also need women to challenge him and help push him to be more masculine and more of a man because that's what he lacks at. So,
Alrighty.
question for you real quick, in regards to both of you actually can answer this one. What duties does women have that men don't? Because Soy Pill, you listed a lot of duties that men have. You talk about, war and stuff like this, and the
Again,
duty of
That's not all
protection,
men.
and
So
yeah, of course, that's not all men.
it's not
But
even a majority.
can you point out a duty? Well, the thing is this: men do have a duty to protect and to provide. If men didn't have that duty, we wouldn't live in America. That is true. America wouldn't be a first world country. It will be more like a third world country. We'll be taken over by another country because men wouldn't be in the military to protect us, right? So we do need men actually have to have that duty to protect. Just like in Ukraine, women are leaving, but the men, they have to stay there and they have to fight. This is what the government enforces men to do. So the government enforces men to adhere to certain masculine male duties. My question to you is, should the government enforce women to adhere to any womanly feminine duties?
So
Because they do
again,
enforce us.
when
We
you
got to sign up
government
for selective
enforcement, are you
service.
talking about-
Women don't.
I think
Right,
women.
yeah,
I
I
think if I may,
women should be conscripted, if that's what you're
yeah,
asking.
I
me.
think
Fucking
women
put
should
'em
sign
in
up for
there.
selective
In
service
fact,
too.
put them on
Yeah.
the front lines because I don't want to get shot. Put them in front of me.
Okay.
Well, I don't agree.
let's-
Okay, hold
you're
on,
being
Soy.
disingenuous.
I don't
Let's be
agree with
serious
Soy
No,
on
about
I'm
that.
being serious about the first part.
Go
I do
ahead,
think
Vic.
that women should be conscripted in the same way. I don't think it's fair that you should just say, hey, these people
Conscripted in what way? In the same
that-
duties
to
as the
go into
man?
I think they
and do
should all
the
be.
roles that they're
Hold on. Do
currently
you
doing in the military, which is a vast amount of roles and doesn't have to be the front lines, which is not a very large part of
men who are
period, but
conscripted
also not a very large
generally?
part of the military.
Men who are conscripted. men
So
in America at least.
Hold
men
on, I
who are
want to
di-
give it to Wick.
Sure.
He was trying.
Men who are conscripted generally don't serve on the front lines. You guys understand that, correct? Right? Generally, in most combats, right, at least in America, I can't speak for other countries, but I can speak for America, right? Conscripts who are drafted up are perform more backline roles, logistics generally, right? When it comes to should women sign up for the selective, have to be required to sign up for selective service? Yes, I think they should. Do I think that women should be sent to the
I want people who have the capability and desire to be on the front lines, no matter what they are.
front lines? I think that if women wants to be on the front lines and can demonstrate a capacity to be at the front lines without lowering standards, then why not?
Exactly what I just said.
However, I do think that in general, because men are stronger at average, that even if you keep the standards the same, more men will qualify for those standards than women. But I don't think that the government should be forcing women to have babies, if that's what you're asking.
what? Okay, so so what I'm saying is this. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying that the government enforces men to adhere to some duty. And there's women that's the exception, like you said. I'll give you that. But are there any other duties that the government should make women adhere to?
Well, I'll answer this, and like I said, like I think that if it became such an obvious existential problem that like within a generation or two we wouldn't exist as a human species because people aren't having babies, I think it would be the time for the government to step in and say, "Hey, woman, you have to have more babies." In the same way, I'm not really for conscription unless it is a existential and immediate threat. So in Ukraine right now, I would say that's an existential immediate threat. Their country is going to be taken over. I'd say World War II would qualify for that. I'd say Vietnam isn't, right? We're shipping all our people over to a place that they don't need to be to enforce our will because of some Cold War agenda, and I don't think you should conscript people for that. So yeah, in an existential scenario, you should draw on these biological imperatives that humans have and say, look, the government needs to step in and do something here, because if we don't, we'll all die. But that's a very specific scenario, and again, we're talking about normal day-to-day life. What should men do? What should women do? This is like so far beyond the pale of what like actually happens and what we should be encouraging, that yeah, in these specific scenarios you can get me to say we should tell them to do their biological functions, but this is just not what's currently happening in a vast majority of places.
So you think that in Japan and South Korea they should do that?
It depends on how bad it gets and what the projections are, but I'd have to look into
1.2.
exactly.
Let me tell you. So the curve, when you look at population growth over the last sort of like 100 years or so, there was an exponential curve upwards for a little while, but then now it goes exactly the same on the way down. So then you've got places like Japan and South Korea that are about 1.2 birth rates, and this is absolutely an existential crisis for the Japanese people and the South Korean people, right? And America is on the same trajectory, because you keep going down, and in a generation or two, maybe one generation, you guys are going to be in the same place there where it becomes an existential crisis. So you're saying that don't worry about it until the shit really hits the fan. The shit is inevitably going to hit the fan unless you do something about it.
No, I said don't worry about it unless you have some sort of anthropological that show when it would become a problem.
Got it. So you shouldn't be proactive?
No, this is exactly what I'm saying. Look, if you can show the projections, like, look, if you don't do this by this time, like, we're going to have a problem, then yeah, I think the government needs to step in. Now, I would consider that we're not currently there. And even in places where we are worried about this, like I said, with Georgia, Hungary, or all these places where they're trying to promote traditional roles, it's just not working, right? Like, I think you'd have to be really, really extreme with it then at a certain point and say, hey, look, we're just forcing women to give birth. It would have to become some like Handmaid's Tale-esque thing, because the degree to which we're incentivizing it in these other places is not working. By the way, I didn't realize you were Australian, Jake, but now I'm even more insulted by the fact you keep saying we and having to go to the military.
Wait, are neither of you American?
Like, you were fucking in Australia, buddy.
Wait. So just quickly, what were the last few wars that Australia fought in? Can you tell me?
I don't think there's any
you
notable ones.
You don't know.
Yeah.
So you don't know that Australia fights in every single war that America fights in.
Point,
Good
right?
one. Good one.
Did you
Australia
fight in these
fights in
wars?
every single war.
Yeah?
The Vietnam
said he
War,
did.
the Australians got conscripted. The Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, the
Why did we
Australians
lose?
always
That's probably
fighting
why
the
we
exact
lost,
same
'cause we
wars
had
as
all these
America. So
fucking
maybe
Aussies who think they're
educate
so
yourself.
strong
If
on
you're going to
this
make
one.
claims like that,
Okay.
maybe make sure you have something.
I'm just saying you shouldn't lump yourself in. I'm not pretending to be in the military. And
Just
you're
some
like, it's my
rudimentary
male gender
education
role, and you
would-
fucking
would
sit
be
inside
good.
and podcast all day like a little bitch. But I
So,
do that
Soy
too, so
Pill.
I'm not trying to pretend I'm better than you.
Ooh,
Yeah, so
shots
Soy
fired.
Pill, it's funny that you say that, when I asked you that question, you went on this, long-winded answer, but you essentially said that, only like if it gets to the an extreme where we actually need to enforce women to adhere to some duty and men to adhere to their duties and stuff like that, then we need to do it. So you're looking at, you would wait to pretty much, I'm saying that you're looking at things from a reactional standpoint.
Yes.
What me and Jake are saying here is we're looking at it from a proactive standpoint. And since influence is a very powerful force, if you influence the masses, right, to do these things, it wouldn't have to come
Right.
where you
So-
need to be proactive and the world
So,
turns into
if I may-
Handmaid's Tale.
And wait, no, wait,
Just-
let me really
oh,
quickly
sorry,
respond, because the problem is, again, you have to show me that somehow by enforcing these gender roles, we're going to now have replacement rates. But again, if you go look at any of these studies, this is not borne out in the data. This is not promoting these things does not get people to have more babies. This is a problem widespread across the world. So yeah, sure, I think it would be better if we.
That's because they're not promoting it. They're giving incentives and things like that. They're not. You don't promote having babies. You promote the cohesion in society of men and women, and that leads to procreation. Yeah, they're splitting hairs now. And again, procreation is not women's role. That is both of us. It takes two. It takes loving couples to create families. That's what it takes. And if men and women on a societal level are dissociating from each other the way that we seem to be in certain aspects, this is a consequence of that. These countries that they keep referring to that they're saying are, and this is where I disagree with Soy Pill a little bit, where they're incentivizing these things. You can't just incentivize procreation. You have to incentivize, or no, you have to promote the situation and the sort of social climate that leads to these things in the healthy way. Just incentivizing them, he's right, just incentivizing them doesn't do anything. But there is an answer to this question, and none of them are really getting to it, the really pointed answer.
We could just say, hey, socially, we should probably have some sort of, expectation of some woman to do this, because if they did, then we wouldn't get to this existential thing. But it's not happening that way, and this isn't going to stop it from happening.
You know why?
But also,
Because
but
There is
feminism
an
is
example.
promoting
Let me
the
just
opposite.
I'll really quickly give you an example. If you look at Romania in the 1960s, they wanted to address their birth rate. So what they did was they took away abortion and contraception. It went from 1.9 to 3.7 in a a few years. So yeah. It has
okay,
happened.
well, if that were to
Wick,
be borne
I
out, I don't
wanted
know
to-
if that's what's happening
Yeah,
in Hungary or
there's-
Georgia, where they're trying these very, very aggressive things. It's really just not working in the same way. And I think we live in a different time than 1960s. I don't think that's necessarily going to work. But hey, if that's what needs to happen, if it's an existential crisis, I understand. And that's why I'm saying, yeah, I prefer the people to have choices and be able to make their own choices until it gets to a point where the choice between, hey, do I want people to have freedom or will we cease to exist as a species comes up? And then I say, yeah, I guess in that trolley problem, I will throw away choice, because otherwise we will all die and choice
Yeah,
won't matter.
but
That's when it
Soy
matters.
Pill, the thing is,
hold on. I did
Okay, go
want to
ahead.
give Wick,
Yeah,
and then
there
back to
are-
you, David. Thank you.
There are examples of governments in the modern day trying to incentivize their population to have more kids, right? And I think that there was a man, I forget if it was the Netherlands or Sweden. So forgive me if I get the exact name of the country wrong here, but they're, for example, saying, hey, if you are a woman and you have so many kids, you don't have to pay taxes for the rest of your life. And I think these are
Hungary.
perfectly thank you. I think these are perfectly fine incentives to make. I think there are good incentives and there are bad incentives. There are good ways to promote things and there are bad ways to promote things. And I think that what Hungary is doing with the tax.
Once you create the social climate that leads to people wanting to create families and be in relationships and have healthy attitudes about those things, then you can start to incentivize procreation. If you haven't done that first step, though, no amount of incentivizing is going to just have babies start spawning out of women who don't want to have relationships or families. If you promote the social climate for those things, then you can start to do the incentives. Then all these other things can be helpful, but they're not boiling it down to that. They all seem to be sort of unintentionally conceding that it's like woman's duty to have children, but it's family's duty to have children. Sort of. It's a virtue to have children as a family. It's not a duty, but it's a virtue.
Tax breaks and things like that are very good incentives. And I think that like when we talk about like these existential crises, I'll just ask you, do you think that the Japan, because you've mentioned that a few times, Jake, do you think that they are in a state where you think that the government should force women to have kids?
No, I don't think that there should be any force, but I think that there should be incentive, and there should be government propaganda campaigns that incentivize women to have children. So
What if that
they
doesn't
do
work,
doesn't
in
then?
work.
The things.
Yeah, what if
So
that didn't
if you
work?
just
That
let me
doesn't
speak
work.
for more than 7
Yeah, but your
seconds, then I'll
point
be
doesn't
able
matter.
to.
What
Then
if
I'll
it
be able
doesn't
to
work?
actually extrapolate on the point that I'm making. I'll be able to build it out, right? So if you look at what they're doing in Hungary at the moment, what they did was they gave tax incentives to women to have X amount of babies, right? And then eventually, if they have 4 children or more, then they won't pay income tax for the rest of their life. That managed to flatline the birth rate for a little while, but it didn't actually manage to raise the curve. So in Japan and South Korea, what they're now doing is they're getting in immigrants from all around the world, and they're a very culturally homogenous country, so they don't want to be doing that. But what they need to be doing is to be having government propaganda campaigns and also incentivizing.
Yes, Wicked. The sexual revolution went way too far. And it has not been good for society in any way. With how far it's gone.
Like family structures,
What if that
etc.
doesn't work?
Families to
Yeah,
look
we're
after the
just asked
kids.
the same
There needs to be some sort of like a national
Hey,
campaign.
can you give a fourth
towards
example that's
having
like
children.
the exact same thing and then answer our question?
Yeah, well,
I'd like to
again,
turn it to David because it was his turn if you wanted to add on to that.
I mean, the question that I was going to ask was, you
Wait.
know, because the thing is, I keep moving the goalpost so much. So let me just get it back on, I think the argument and the question that, and also the contradiction that you don't realize. But anyways, here we go.
Mhm.
So Soy Pill, again, you said that you are okay. You would not stop the promotion of feminism. You would not stop the promotion of feminism.
What do you
But
mean
you
by
would-
feminism? Hey, if you can't define it, I can't help you there because I don't know what you're asking me to say. Whether or not I wanna promote it. In what that everyone should be equal in every metric, or that we should genuinely treat people the same.
Both.
Okay, no, I think we should not promote that. I don't think that you should force egalitarianism. I don't think you can force opportunity.
No, not force. I said promote.
I don't think we should promote the idea that everyone needs to have the exact same outcomes. No.
No, not outcomes. Well, okay,
that's
so
what I
not
said.
outcomes.
So if
So
I'm
not
saying we
outcomes.
should promote that we should treat everyone to some degree of respect equally, then yeah, I think I'll support that.
No, like men and women are equal. Pretty much, women you
what
can go
metric?
out there and do everything that a man can do.
Again, that's an outcome, right? I don't think there should be 50-50 gender in every job. I don't think that women and men have to have the exact same amount of gold medals at the top tier of Olympics, right? This is not something I would promote if that's what you're saying feminism is.
Okay, so you wouldn't promote feminism at all then.
If that's what you think feminism is, then I
So
don't
what do you
endorse
think
that.
feminism is?
Again, I'm not a feminist, so I'm not going to speak
I
on the
feel like
whether or not
we
I've
went-
read all the literature, but I'm just saying
We've been over this feminism point so many times now. I don't know how Cooley doesn't understand his position yet.
I think that
We-
women
yeah,
should
we
have
already
more
did
agency and
the-
choice, and yeah, we're walking in circles. But I
We
do
already
really
did
want
that.
Jake to answer the question of like, again, what do you do if all this stuff you're promoting and saying that Japan and Hungary need to do doesn't work? Would
Yeah, you
you
get
would
rid
you
of
like, because I'll
abortion, you
bite the
get rid
bullet.
of
I'll say that the
contraception.
government should intervene when it becomes so dire that like they will literally not exist. Do you agree
Sure.
with that, or you think they
Yeah,
should?
you get rid of abortion and you get rid of contraception.
And what if that doesn't work? What if they don't have enough babies for replacement?
But I mean, you could just respond that to every single thing that I say. But we
No,
have
I'm
seen
just saying, what
areas
would you
in the
do?
world where these things have worked. We've seen it work in Hungary. We saw it work in Romania in the 1960s. And these things are incentives for people to have less to have more children. And they're definitely incentives for people to not have casual sex outside of relationships more. You can also have cultural
I'm not
stigma
disagreeing with any of
that
this.
you can have cultural stigma that stigmatizes people having sex outside of wedlock, etc.
Mhm.
There are many different things that you can do, and it
Okay.
will be better than what they have.
Cool.
For sure.
All right, cool. So what would you do if that didn't work? I'm going to keep asking because apparently you can't engage with this hypothetical.
I am engaging with the hypothetical, and I've
Okay, what
given
would you
you
do?
all of the different things that you can do. So
What
then
would you do?
This,
What-
this,
when
this
not-
is just
when
a
none of
never-
that
this is
works, what
just
would
an
you do?
Infinite, you've just
No,
got,
it's
this
the
is just an
point. The
infinite
point is,
regress.
if government force is the only way to do it, would you accept it? Would you say that the government should force it because otherwise we won't exist?
What do you mean? Say that again.
If government force was the only way to perpetuate the human species, do you think the government should force people to enlist to defend our country against aliens? Do you think they should enlist women to have babies because otherwise they won't have enough to replace in the next generation? Do you think that the government should do that?
Well, there's a certain level of force that the government can actually do, and in terms of conscription, I think that is a duty that does fall on men collectively. But then also with women, you can't actually inseminate them forcefully, because then that would be
I promise you, people have
word,
found a
right?
way for the
So-
entirety of humanity.
But yeah, for the entirety of humanity, people have had kids, and generally it's in times when there was more strong traditional roles and when there was stronger family structures, etc. So what we could do is, like I said 50 times, is all of these different government incentives and societal structures that actually incentivize
I'm just trying to
family.
find out
Right
if
now
you
we
would be
have
okay
right
with
now we have
government
the
force to make
we have
this
the
happen if those
antithesis.
didn't work.
Right now we have the total antithesis of that.
I don't know why he's not just saying, no, I wouldn't do that. I would never do that. He could just say that.
And the antithesis of that is that we promote abortion. We promote abortion as a means of contraception. We have completely destroyed the family. Divorce rate is higher than ever. Kids
Hold
are
on,
growing
no,
up
it's
in
not.
single parent homes. People.
That's not true.
Divorce rates.
Divorce
there
rates
might
are
have been a time in
down.
history when it was.
Divorce rates are
from
down
when?
from the
Down
early
from when?
2000s.
Marriage rates are down too, Wick. That's kind of a non sequitur.
Down from when?
Absolutely.
Down from last year?
No,
Okay,
down from the
but
early
if you look at it from
2000s.
you look at it from the 1950s, 1940s, when America had a stronger family structure, it's up.
But abortion's
Divorce rates are
become
up from
more
then.
common
So-
since then.
So
I
let
don't
me just
understand
finish
how
off
this
the point.
works.
So kids are raised in single mother households. People are pair bonding less. People are getting married later. Women are not having children until they're in their 30s. Women are going into higher education, into the workforce more, and all of these things are being incentivized. So you can keep on asking questions about, well, what if that doesn't work? What if that doesn't work? But I've just laid out the entire map for you. So take it and do what you will with
But
it.
you understand.
curious
hold on,
about
if I
what
may
you would
stop,
do in a
please, Soy, let
hypothetical
me. I
existential
gotta engage with this
situation.
because you said
But-
something that was just simply not true, right? When we talk about like the divorce rates, we have seen the divorce rates in the West, in America specifically, drop from about 11.1 to about a little over 7, I believe. The last time they checked was the last time I could find at least was like 2022, 2021, right? And so obviously, in our current society, we have found a way, whatever that might be, in order to reduce divorce rates. We do not need to promote traditional gender roles, because I doubt you guys would say we've been promoting traditional gender roles for the last 20 years in America, right? We do not need to do that to reverse to get rid of divorce rates. And this is kind of the key central point that I think you guys just have failed to address.
So you're
that-
going to pick
oh,
up
if
one
I may,
thing
if I
that
may,
I
if I
said,
may,
and you're going to
if I
say
may
that there was a slight
specifically
decrease
actually
in a
continue to make my
certain- in a
point
certain time.
without you interrupting, because you know
Go-
that this is
go
this
ahead,
is not
go ahead,
making
Wick.
you look good, right? This idea, right, that we have to, that we need to enforce or promote or influence, whatever word you want to use here, these strict traditional gender roles is just not true. It's not borne out by the data. There are other ways to achieve the goals that I think that we could even agree. I'll toss you this bone. I do think that there are things that we should do to society to make men safer, to make men more productive, to give them more purpose. But I think that we can do that outside of the traditional gender roles. And again, with the divorce rate
Sure, Wick.
specifically,
Yeah, Hannah, people getting married later it has the same consequential effect of like them not getting married, because when you, like Wicked just said, when people are getting married in their 30s, I think the average age is 30 now, you just simply can't have as many kids at that point. I mean, yeah, every year like it becomes possible to have children later with more science and medicine and all that, but it's like functionally the same effect. We don't promote relationships the same way we did anymore. And well, yeah, for men and women it's always different, because men tend to date slightly lower, women tend to date slightly older. It's not as massive as some of the red pillars would have you think, but there is a slight yeah, Hannah, but they aren't. and it's still way less than if you start a lot earlier. And those pregnancies are generally considered, once you get to like 35 and 40, those are all considered high risk. There's so many more things that come into play. The totality problem is that we don't promote relationships anymore. We don't teach people how to engage with relationships in healthy ways. And the general societal split among men and women is leading to these relationships starting much later in life. Yeah, but Hannah, nobody's doing that. They're not doing it. I'm pretty sure our rate is like 1, it's well under 2. So they're not having 2 or 3 kids. At age 30, people just aren't having 2 or 3 kids. Like it might be physically possible, but they just aren't doing it. It's a bummer, but it like there's always anecdotes, but statistically, when you get married at 30, you're just not having nearly as many kids as when you get married younger. Like it's possible that we could adjust that some way, but it's not working that way right now. I don't know, they're all kind of getting off the rails now, though. We'll watch a little bit more of this, but I feel like we're getting out of the I feel like they're just starting to repeat themselves a lot at this point.
This is some data that we actually have that we can show that we did not need to enforce gender roles in order to reduce the divorce rate from about 11.1.
Sure. Let me just grant this to you, okay? Sure, I'm going to grant you that there has been a slight uptick in people not getting divorced over a period of time in the last 20 years. Now, do you think that the divorce rates have gone up or down since 1950? Tell me that.
I think that they've gone down since the 1700s too, or up, I should say. Divorce rates have gone up.
So do you think people are getting divorced more now? If you could just engage in good faith, do you think people are getting divorced more now, or more in the 1950s? Okay, fantastic. Do you think that people are getting married later now, or do you think they're getting married later?
They're getting married later now because they're living longer.
They're getting married later now. Do you think that people are having less kids now, or do you think? Hold on,
please. 2 more.
Okay, Soy Pill, I'm actually not talking to you, but I know that
you're not talking to anyone because we all understand this.
Wick TV, I was speaking to him. So Wick TV, do you think that women are having less children now or more children
now? They're having less children.
Fantastic. Now, do you think that the birth rates are going down or they're going up right now?
In the West, they're going down.
Okay, so Wick, there is the map for you. Now you can try and nitpick one little part of it and say, well, there's been a turnaround in divorce rates. Good, I'll just grant it for you. But I've got 20 things and you've got nothing.
But no, you've not connected a single one of these things to traditional gender roles. This is the failure of your argument. You have made all these facts, right? And I'll cede them to you that all these things are true. However, you're positing that these are because of.
Also, I don't mean to like get on you, Hannah, but the marriage rate is 60% lower from 1970 till now. It's massively lower. Which is whatever. You don't have to be married to have children. You can be in a long-term committed relationship. There's other ways, but we're not teaching people. We're not promoting relationships at all. Like it's not a good way to have a cohesive culture when we're not promoting any like relationships at all. It's mostly religious people that are promoting marriage and long-term relationships, which feels unnecessary to me. I feel like we can do better, a lot better in this regard.
The traditional gender roles when there are a host of other factors, some of which you mentioned and ceded to earlier, like in Japan with urbanization and things like that. I think the technology has been a huge factor, contraception, etc., all these things. So to point and to tie these things specifically to gender roles, this is what you have failed to do in your argument. You understand
Okay,
that,
if it's
correct?
not tied to gender roles, then what is it tied to?
There are a host of possible variables that we can
Again,
go
if
through.
you
So
can
for
prove
example,
some
it
sort
depends
of
on
link
the
with something, you'd win a fucking Nobel Prize. Like,
Cool,
so
we got a
I don't
link
have
already.
any
Opening,
so
like
I
I
please
said.
let me finish.
So it's
Right? It really depends on the data
Wick,
point
you
you're
spoke
looking
enough.
to.
You spoke
Go
enough, and you're not
ahead.
really saying too
No,
much.
hold on.
Okay, can I
Wick
bring this
answer
back?
the-
I have
I
a really
wanted
important
to.
question.
Yeah, so again, it really depends on the specific data point that you're looking at that we can explain these things. Like when you look at the rates of divorce, right? Are they
Okay, so we
higher
have a
now than they were in
solution
the
and you don't.
1950s?
That's pretty
Yes,
much what you're
because
saying.
there are much less restrictions on it and things like that. This has nothing to do with gender roles.
Well, let me ask a
Soy,
question.
go
Okay,
ahead.
cool. Real quick,
Because,
real
like,
quick.
okay,
So if
Hold
we
on.
don't,
Soy
okay, if we
wanted to
don't,
add in.
I
Soy
really
wanted to add in,
ask
and then
this
back
question
to you,
because,
David.
Jake, you were talking about like, oh, this is a absurd hypothetical, like getting the government to force people to do this. But the reason I ask is because feminism and this idea of promoting choice and women's rights and sexual promiscuity and all this stuff rose out of the culture that you guys are promoting, right? These traditional masculine roles of the 40s, 50s, 60s, 30s. Feminism came out and was appealing to women and even men at that time, in spite of the fact that you would argue that those societies were better or closer to what you want society to be like. So how then are you going to enforce these things when you have these incentive structures that in the past inevitably lead to feminism rising up and trying to promote these ideas that you think suck?
Oh, I have no idea which state is the highest. I assume somewhere in the Bible Belt. I'm not sure.
It's going to happen again unless you have some way, unless you're okay with the government forcing them to do a certain thing. No?
well, feminism rose up because of a lot of propaganda. Women, if you look back
Why
in
was
the
it so
in the
appealing?
early
Exactly.
40s and 50s, women actually would vote against it. They didn't want to be in the workforce. So what you're saying is it doesn't make sense. It's not rooted into reality
What
of what
happened after
women
that?
actually want.
Utah, not technically in the Bible Belt, but like a distant cousin.
What I'm saying is propaganda. So let's get to the root of everything, because manipulation happens when you focus on the effects instead of getting to the root of things. And Sarah, I know you tried to move off, and y'all tried to move off too off of influence, but we're not moving off. We're going right back, because that is the source of everything. Influence creates thinking. Thinking creates behavior. If you can defeat that argument, God dang, you win the debate. So since influence creates thinking, how you think and the actions that you are going to take, should we this debate, I keep moving the goalposts. This debate is literally about, should traditional roles have a place in modern society? It should have a place in modern society. And the reasons why it isn't, the reasons why people are moving away from gender roles is because of propaganda like feminism, which soy pill, you keep going up. You are a complete male feminist. You never really answer the question. You kind of like move away from answering the question, and I let it go, but I'm like,
I promise you,
no, that's not happening anymore. It's not happening anymore. So,
well, listen, if you're right, if influence is so important,
first and
then
foremost,
your
stop
side
right
has
there,
been
Soy Pill.
absolutely
Stop
dog shit
right
at
there,
it for
Soy.
decades.
Stop
So, like,
right
why should
there,
I
Soy
fucking side
Pill.
with you guys?
Stop
Like,
it.
feminism
Stop
seems to be winning right now.
Gentlemen.
Stop it.
He has to interrupt. He's terrified of the
He got it.
arguments.
He's
David,
terrified.
go ahead and finish your thought,
terrified.
and then
Look,
Soy,
I'm
you are
very
welcome to
scared.
respond.
The low tier tactic.
Low tier tactics. And the thing is, your arguments, you keep making arguments like, well, should we physically enforce these things or not physically enforce these things? What I'm saying is very simple and true. You can't defeat it. We wouldn't have to.
So why are we
physically
arguing about it?
Stop it. We wouldn't have to physically enforce anything, and the world turn into Handmaid's Tale, or something else, if we mentally enforce it with influence. But I'm telling you right now, there's an opposite influence that is influencing people not to adhere to gender roles. This is why you're seeing the decline in birth rates. This is why you're seeing the abortion rate. This is why you're seeing all of these negative effects, because of the propaganda that's pushed away from gender roles. We are arguing for gender roles. You get what I'm saying? So,
oh my God, it's so much
guess
sense.
what?
Yeah.
Soy Pill, you actually agreed to many of the things that we argued for, which you already know. Men are naturally stronger than women in a lot of things. You know these biological truths, but for some reason you want to speak the opposite of the biological truths.
I haven't
Like, why
spoken
would
the
you do
opposite of
that?
any biological truth. I think it's very clear what I'm saying is that,
No, you
look, if
have.
which biological truth have I spoken the opposite of?
One, you said that, well, I'm
Just pick
okay
one.
with women going into the biological truth that you spoke against. You said that, well, I'm neutral on, yeah, I think that, choice is everything. Well,
No, Hannah, we have to teach both. That's what I'm saying. That's what Soy Pill is saying. That's what Wick is saying, is that we can promote all of these things together. That nothing has to be this dichotomy. Like Jake and Cooley think it's this dichotomy of we either teach women to get married and have children, or we teach them to go be girl bosses in the workforce. But it can be both. Okay. That's what we're saying. Like, you can promote all of these things as virtues to society, and we can all engage in all of them.
what would you want to influence then? Because something has
I
to
think it's
influence
no
someone
choice,
from
right?
choosing something, but you're totally against gender roles.
I'm not.
That's
Oh
what I'm
my God!
saying.
You have. Apparently you're not active listening, as you so have proposed throughout this entire debate. I never said I'm against the good things that come from gender roles. I'm just saying we don't have to strictly promote this for male and female. And I'll keep repeating that until you understand it. I'm not saying, we have to do this, we have to do that. I'm saying that, yeah, people having choices is better, and no.
Oh, okay. I kind of figured you were, maybe you were, because it was kind of a counter to some other things you said, but
We don't have to say that men must do this, and if they don't, then somehow they're bad men. And I'm gonna keep repeating that. I don't know why you can't understand this. And
No,
I'm
I
not
understand
saying
that clearly.
men aren't stronger. I'm not saying that, men aren't better at things that require strength. I'm just saying that not all men are going to be doing these things, and therefore we don't have to say you're not a real man if you don't do these things. So I don't understand what's so difficult.
Okay,
about
so
that.
you want to restrict speech
Did I say that?
because that's what's going to happen. You
It's
said that
crazy. I can watch the words.
That's what's gonna
travel
happen.
A few wavelengths
Yeah,
over to you, and you can just
great.
transform them. Into
No,
something I never
that's
said.
what's gonna
It's so awesome.
happen. Well, I don't think people should
don't think.
say to people, well, you if you don't adhere to these gender roles, that you're a loser or something like that. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh,
Like,
it is? Well, then
that's
what are you
what's gonna
worried about? Why are
happen.
you debating? If everything is such a
Wick is
biological
going to
imperative,
continue
if somehow
to not
feminism
get
is going to
chicks
lose
because
because of
he
the natural
adheres to
hierarchy
his
of
gender
man
role,
and woman, why are you
you
even here?
are
You can just sit
continue-
back in your chair. You
Gentlemen,
don't have to go
I
fight in the
think
military. You can just
this
twiddle your
is
thumbs and
a
it'll all work out for you. So
wonderful
what are you worried
time
about?
to move over to our closing statements, and then we can read and respond to some of the super chats.
all right, we will watch closing statements. We are not going to watch super chats. I have work in the morning, and I work full time as a HVAC installer, so I have a long day tomorrow. And where I am, it's midnight right now. Just became midnight, so we are going to watch the rest of that. But
And I'm seeing the chat. There's a lot of people already wanting to get in on open panel, so I don't want to hold them off any longer. Okay, I believe, Wick, would you like to begin with your closing statement?
Certainly. So I think that we've made it pretty clear in this debate that while I have nothing against gender roles, and I think that I wouldn't want to abolish stay-at-home moms or anything like that, I think that we have amply demonstrated that egalitarianism is superior as a form of ideology and as something to promote. When we talk about dealing with reality, one of the points that neither of my interlocutors here have been able to address is the fact that every single Western country who has gone further towards egalitarianism has outperformed by almost every
yeah, I'm gonna go as soon as they're done with closing statements. I'll give my little closing statement, and then I'm gonna go to bed.
metric the countries who have not and who have stayed in the more patriarchal, traditional kind of wavelengths. I think that when it comes down to it, it really is a freedom of choice, right? I think that if a man wants to stay at home and watch his children while his wife earns the money, that's okay. I think if a woman wants to stay at home and watch her kids while her man goes out and earns bread, that's also okay. I think that I should not be able to choose for them what they do. And the advice I would give to them, right? What sort of lifestyle should I live? The one that makes you feel most satisfied, the one that you want to do. Now, I think that naturally, without any coercion, without any force, without any pressure, this will naturally kind of lead to more men in certain roles and more women in certain roles, and that's perfectly fine. But we don't need to be promoting, right, or stymieing people going into these gender roles. If they are actually natural things, it will happen without our input. And I think that's okay. I'm Wick TV. If you like what I say or you hate what I say, you can find me on Wick TV on all platforms. Check me out. Thanks for having me. I do appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Wick. Soy, to you.
Yeah, I don't think my opponents know what I'm even against because they don't know what a gender role is. I don't think men shouldn't fight in the military. I don't think we need to have a 50-50 military. I think that men and women should have the choice to be in what I'm the Soy Pill. I make video essays on politics, Type Wanda and the deep state, and I thought that I would be the largest person on this panel and thus the most correct. Although I see Cooley, you'd also work out, and Jake, maybe you do too. You're hiding your arms, so all my working out was for nothing. But thank you for joining. I had a good time.
Thank you, Soy. Jake, to you.
Yeah, I thought that our opponents' arguments tonight were quite frankly embarrassing. They actually never really gave a definition of feminism and what they really think that feminism is, which is interesting. And they were just intentionally vague the entire time, which is a very low tier sort of tactic. And they were constantly shifting the goalposts and constantly using all of these different tactics that are just quite frankly low tier. They even admitted that women are weaker and less effective than men, which I found really interesting because that actually just plays into our point that women, yes, they're less effective and they're weaker than men, and that's why we need men to have certain societal duties as a collective. Now, we never said that all men have to do this. We said that this is a collective duty, and we made that very clear. But they kept on going back to that because they actually couldn't contend with the arguments. So I actually really enjoyed this. I found that, like I said, the arguments from the other side were just quite frankly embarrassing, and it was an easy W for me and Cooley. Been coming for a minute.
You did not get a W, Jake. The audacity of him and Cooley thinking they got a W is just...
But yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jake. David, to you.
You know what? Let's get rid of gender roles. Put me in a room with these two guys, and their only option is to fight me back 2-on-1 or call the police. But guess what? There's no gender roles, so they're gonna get some women police that show up. Guess what? Y'all both dying, and I'm killing a woman police too. That's what's gonna happen if you abolish gender roles. You get what I'm saying?
Man, I would
That's
kneel
what's
on your
gonna
neck so hard they'd be painting murals of you in New York
At
City.
the
I'm just
end of
telling
the
you,
day-
brother. I'd kneel on your neck so
Great,
hard
great,
they'd be painting
great.
Oh, come on, Wake. You can't interrupt closing statements. That's rude.
murals
is
of
my
you in New York
ending,
City.
and
Just saying.
How are they cutting me off? You're that triggered. You're that
I
feminine.
I
nigga.
will
just said
say
you
it
were
is
going to kill
closing
us.
statements. It's closing statements,
He just said he was going
gentlemen.
to kill us.
David, David, go ahead.
Appreciate you,
Just
Sarah.
be mindful of
Appreciate
the
you.
death threats, David.
I was. It's. You
Saying
know,
you're going to kneel on a black man's neck. Nice one, Rick.
yeah, but you know what? I would say these guys were very disingenuous with the things like they know these biological truths. They were very vague, like Jake said. They never really gave a definition towards about feminism. When it came to influence and stuff like that, they really didn't want to battle with that. Really didn't answer questions on that. It was like, let me just try to avoid this topic. They try to stick with topics that they're comfortable with, like moving the goalposts and always speaking about effects. Me and Jake was always continuously trying to will it back in to get to the cause of things, which is biology. But other than that, man, this podcast was cool. I appreciate all of you for having me. Shout out to Soy Pill and Wick TV. At the end of the day, my name is Cooley with No Fugazi Podcast. Give me a follow. Subscribe.
All right. All right. I'm going to do my closing statement, okay? And then I'm going to bed. All of this whole argument always comes down to the same thing, and it's the birth rate. And the problem with the birth rate is not about engaging in traditional gender roles. It is society does not teach or promote relationships and families anymore. If we teach people when they're young how to engage with relationships in a healthy way, and we promote the creation of healthy, happy families and having children, that is how we can fix this. There's a lot more nuance and details to how all of that would have to happen, but I feel like I said most of them during the debate, so I'm not going to rehash it all here now. But that is my basic closing statement. I think Soy Pill and Wick won this debate. Cooley was extremely obtuse. And Jake was just kind of like hemming down on one point and then doing insults. There were a lot of times that the whole thing devolved into ad hom, but that's how that goes. Someone starts ad hom and everyone else does too. That's how they all go. It's blood sports debates. This is not high school debating. This is, we all know how this goes. But a little bit of channel stuff real quick. First of all, thanks you guys for engaging, hanging out. Godspeed, Wicked, Wi-Fi. I think we saw Devesh earlier too. Anybody else that's watching, thank you very much. Fun fact, we are at 96 subscribers in just a few weeks with very little promotion, just banking on the YouTube algorithm still. We're getting close to the point where I'm going to start reaching out and engaging in some of these myself. While I think Soy Pill and Wick did win this debate, I think there were a few points that they missed that they could have gotten a little deeper into to have ended up with a more decisive victory. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I actually thought this was a really great conversation that they had when they were having conversation. I thought it was a really good debate. Sarah, as usual, regardless of her own personal ideologies, was a pretty great moderator, and I certainly appreciate great moderators. Wicked, it's going to take me a while to get on Timcast or JLP. I'll probably get on like Raging Tomato or Modern Day or Wick TV or something like that first. That's where we're gonna start. We're a long ways away from Timcast or JLP, but we did react to some Timcast. We will check out a JLP. We will during a stream, but hey, maybe someday, maybe we'll get there someday. I'm not in a rush. I have a job that I like. I don't know if I would love this being all encompassing in my life to the point where I'm flying around to go on different podcasts and whatnot, but we'll see. We'll see how big it gets. We'll see how things go. Again, thank you all for hanging out. Your engagement with these really does promote the channel more on YouTube, I'm pretty sure, because every day, another 5-10 subscribers pop up out of nowhere. And yeah, thank you all, and have a great night, guys. Oh, yes, Hannah. You're on the Modern Day Debate Discord, right? That was you, right? I'll get that all set up tomorrow. Obviously I'm gonna go to sleep right now because I have work tomorrow, but I'll yeah, I'll get into that tomorrow. I'll get a so like I have a Discord, but I want to make one just for this channel. So I'm gonna do that, and then I will come find you and add you. I'll make it'll be obvious that it's me. So thank you for the invite though. And I'm sure we'll all talk again soon. So